Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an object show fan that has barely watched any object shows. We have to fix that. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome into Object Catchup, the series where we discuss object show episodes right after watching them. Whether they are new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. Now, good morning. It is the earliest I think I probably ever started a catch-up recording because I have stuff to do in the evening, but I really wanted to get a big video um out next, so I decided to start working on it earlier than I usually do because we have to keep up with the episodes from show creators which we have covered in the past. However, there is a lot to take a look at, a lot of big videos which I've ignored. The biggest one, and therefore the thing that we're going to be taking a look at first, is none other than Purgatory. Yeah, because remember Purgatory, we covered it a couple of weeks ago, episode 1A. We gave our rough predictions on who would be good. Well, yeah, in 1A, we only get to discover our cast. We don't get to actually see the cast compete. So it's time for the big 30-minute 1B, which, of course, makes a 45-minute total episode 1, which is pretty big. The episode is titled Get Me Out of Here. I have no idea what to expect. However, I don't know. I have a feeling that it's going to be pretty good. And then we're going to be taking a look at other new episodes from all the other shows, except for the ones from Pen and Gelatin Fan. We don't cover those. I don't cover those yet because they're too much stuff to watch. I'll think about it later. Um, uh, like for the future, but I'm currently behind, right? But yeah, let's get a nice video here where we cover a lot of shit from everyone. All right, let's get this stuff done. Starting with Purgatory 1B. Get me out of here. Let's go. Hello, so I have watched none other than Purgatory 1B, Get Me Out of Here, and I mean, this is just like pretty cool, isn't it? Like this is just kind of sick. This show is just kind of cool. I really like what this show is doing. Because like it has that type of tactical intrigue that I really enjoy, right? Because like object shows where goofy things happen because they feel like they happen, yeah, sure, but like this is very much so a show where everybody, for the most part, is playing a show. Right, like at the end of the day, we're trying to win. We're doing things in the way that you'd expect. It's not Team Cats and everybody else picked. We're directly doing teams based on performance, and then you can think about what order the people in, right? And then some characters end up tatting it out, right? And it's just kind of cool, in general. How it goes, and it's something that I haven't seen in too many cases, even though a lot of the appeal of stuff like reality shows, it's not necessary. Like there's reality shows that are just look, get to see funny things happen to people, right? Kind of like Wipeout. But a lot of shows, it's more about the tactical component, right? It's more about to see what will they do to make it out, how will they do it, and this show I feel does that. And how do I think that this show does that? This show has a pretty overall, right? This cast that I analyzed the other time, there's one thing about it that is really good. There's one thing about this cast that's really good, is that there is nobody here with an exceptional ability. Some people, of course, can bounce or whatever. Like they do have differing abilities. However, none of them are exceptional enough where they can just survive. Like they can just thrive on their own. It's like a flying contestant. Because at the end of the day, of course, I like to do analysis on other shows. That's what I spend the entire time here doing. However, at a certain point, it's nearly easy to analyze other shows, right? Because like it's just, this team has the flying one. If the flying one feels like flying their team up there, they will win every challenge. However, for whatever social dramatic reason, they don't do that, right? That's like what happens a lot of the time with flying contestants. However, in this case, we've constructed a cast where like we don't really have anybody with an exceptional skill, which means that like we have a lot of different people, and we just need to see how they mentally adapt to it. But again, I'm also one of those people that goes, yo, characters should play to their object, right? At the end of the day, I'm one of those people. I think a character should be useful to their object. But even though these characters don't necessarily like have unique special characteristics, they still do play to their object relatively often, right? Whether it's a character like the glue being glued, the grape just being small, just being a little grape, the Venus flytrap, I think you called, being like having that be a thing, right? The yoga ball bouncing and the floaty being able to kind of land in, and the fella fall and the Ziploc bag falls small, right? Like in general, there's a lot of these characters that do have it. The crayons being used for the crayons, right? Like we are utilizing the characteristics of the characters, right? Beyond just the moment, and of course, Sketch uses the sketches, right? And I think doesn't speak, but like it's pretty useful. We use the cap from the bobber thing, right? Like it's all of this stuff is there and it's being used. Yeah, we use the cooler and the cooler. Yeah, like it's it's a lot. I'm trying to list them off as they arrive, and it's kind of sick, right? But the challenge is to escape. We're in Purgatory. Purgatory ends up being discovered to just be a place with rocks. There's nothing there, and you just have to spend a week over in Purgatory. It's not the worst place you could spend a week in theoretically, but yeah, I mean, you're probably gonna go insane. You probably don't want to spend 2 weeks in Purgatory. It'll be interesting to see if there's a degree in the future in the purgatory challenges of like, does the person in purgatory actually suffer mental effects, right? Like, would they become, I don't know, more eccentric during a purgatory challenge because they spent a week and now they get to see people? Would they become more eccentric, more tired, more doomed, more gloom, more happy, more joyous, right? Like, would that actually impact the way that they move? It'll be very interesting to see if they decide to write it so that spending a week in purgatory makes you a different type of person, or if they're just gonna make it, oh yeah, and then they're like the same. It'll be an interesting question to ask. But anyways, we end up having ourselves the challenge. Challenge is simply get to the top. So there's a rope that you can climb. If you want to climb it, there is a possibility that you can do that. However, it is not that easy to climb because it is rather large, uh, and it is rather tall, right? And everything else ends up being a little bit complicated. Um, and of course, there's going to be other people, and there's just one rope. There's a shit ton of building materials, which implies that it can be you can build something to get yourself up, whether it's a ladder or a different structure that you want, catapult, I don't know. And then the fellas end up doing it. Yeah, Cork and Glue. Yeah, these two end up teaming up originally to get themselves out there. They end up having the idea of taking a plank up, right? And then by taking the plank up to the thing, yeah, by taking a plank up to the back wall, they can do glue, plank, right, and continually place them. We are implying that we do have an infinite supply of glue, which currently seems like we do. The characters, the armless trio of Sunday, Sketch, and who the hell are you? What are you called? You're called like a you're a roll, bro. You're like a cake roll. Ends up teaming up as a trio, right, of armless contestants. So, all right, Yugabor and Floaty end up teaming up themselves because, of course, they were teaming up before. Then we end up having Harp, which ends up chatting to Venus Flytrap, like, yo, let's team up. However, we gotta kind of split apart. So, yo, if you find shit, let me know. If I find shit, I'll let you know, right? Which is interesting. What is the best tactic for this challenge? This is one of those challenges where, in my personal eye of it, getting up there first is not really that big of an advantage, right? Because it's not like, okay, you'll get to name the teams, which is just kind of social points, and then you'll get to like maybe being a theoretically stronger team in terms of the placements. However, it's one of those things where, like, personally, I wouldn't risk a super dangerous strategy only to go first, right? I'd probably be the type of person who like would try to see if there's something, right? Would look around for a bit until the first wave of people on the rope, and then after the rope becomes free again, I use that. Basically, it's one of those people where it's like, okay, you'll end up a sort of mid-table if you use the rope for the second time. However, like, it's fine, you know. You just have to not be last, and somebody's probably going to do worse than that, right? Unless everybody's just immensely good, which we know that they're certainly not, right? So I'd be that type of person, right? I'd be content with a mid-table finish, because all you gotta do is not be last. You really do gotta not be last. Um, Venus Flytrap ends up agreeing to team up with Harp. Then the corn dog ends up teaming up with. I mean, they team up with Crayon because Crayon's like, yeah, I know what you are, and the Crayon proceeds to suggest the dumbest set of ideas that I have ever seen. Yes, stack up a bunch of the crayons as if A, there's enough of them, and B, that works. Let's go. To be fair, they managed to stack up to a decent height. You know, like they can stack up at least like 3 crayons. I don't try to do that in real life. That's like difficult, but yeah, it's not a great performance from those two. I'm gonna be honest, but that's kind of the expectation. Um, Corn Dog is the jock who's just gonna be like that. Then the cat headphones and grass block break up because cat headphones is interesting. Cat headphones actually gets that. That's the first ounce of emotion I think I've ever seen from this guy. No, it impacted. And then the grass block ends up starting to chat over to other people. They end up chatting to the Bobber fella. They're not called Bobber. I'm thinking Bobber because there's a character that looks exactly like this in Project Breakout. Do you call bobber? What is a bobber? Hold on. Bobber. What is this is like yeah, it's not a bobber. It's like a different thing. It's like a fuck. What is it? It's like a pod? Like a it's like a ball. It has a name. I don't know the name. Oh god damn it. I'm surprisingly worse at the English language than you think I am. Um, but they eventually end up finding a bunch of plungers. You're gonna be hearing background noise, by the way. It's the morning, okay? It's the vibes of the morning end up just being background noise vibes. Um, so yeah, they end up finding plungers, and they end up just dipping out without glass block because who the hell cares about glass block, right? So then they end up teaming up with the blue bow, which is the super nice fella. They really don't want to be mean, so they'll just say yes. And then the other people are building a ladder. Okay, so this group of like the moon lamp and the pawn end up kind of just building a ladder together. And slowly, the people who realize they've got no ideas end up just piling on to this ladder, being like, okay, I'll help you build this ladder. So there just ends up being a half community effort to just build a ladder. Like, that just kind of ends up being the effort. And then Trophy ends up not really doing it. Broccoli ends up having the idea. What does Broccoli do? I don't know what broccoli does. Broccoli will just do what they want. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Um, okay, yeah. Gust Blaster. That's what they find. Blue Bow and Grass Block find the Gust Blaster. They're the second item to be found. Um, they eventually try to test out what the hell. It blasts a gust of wind. They blast it onto the cat headphones, which just so happens to perfectly land at the top, which means that they manage to win the challenge. They get first place. Cat headphones, by doing nothing, wins the challenge first, which is an interesting idea for sure, I must say. That's that's suspicious. Blue Bow teasing Grass Block for like, oh, you did that for your ex. But yeah, they try to do that to themselves. However, they just kind of shoot themselves in the face and it doesn't work. We end up dropping down Yoga Balls and floaty structure. What was this structure made out of? This structure was made out of like Lego bricks. Yeah, they were just stacking up around and shit. I don't think that was gonna work in the long run. either way, Cooler ends up having the crazy idea to yeet themselves off the rope so that they land on the yoga ball, bounce off of it, and then get up. Okay, if we presume that that isn't an extremely difficult thing to do, which it is, like, let's not say like this is easy. Technically, it would be a tactic. Okay, no, I mean, would it? Okay, if a human were doing this, I don't think this would be a valid tactic because you would just slide off. The yoga ball just moves too fast. But in the sense, but like in this case, we're kind of. Would a human be able to actually dive off and land on a yoga ball? Wouldn't they just slip off immediately? Like, I feel that they would. I don't know, but either way, in this case, of course, when the objects have limbs and they're more stabilized within the floor, then yes, they can absolutely. This could definitely probably work. But Cooler ends up tactically somehow managing to make themselves and the Yoga Ball get up there to the white area and end up a second and third respectively. This, however, means that Floaty gets left behind. It's not Yoga Ball's fault, and I don't think Floaty necessarily minds. I don't think they mind. I think they understand, but like that it's really not their fault. But it's kind of unfortunate. So second and third, and then Ziploc bag ends up being fourth, except nope, Biscuit somehow ended up in the cooler. How did that happen? I don't know. Cooler, you gotta watch. How is bro so loose that they let someone within them? No, that's actually crazy. But Biscuit ends up meaning to get fourth, and that means that that is the top four. First is um, none of. So wait, hold on. Cat headphones, yoga ball, cooler, and biscuit. Those are the four team leaders in the sense that they get to name the teams, and they make out the first four seeds, I guess. Well, Ziploc Bag ends up getting fifth, and therefore joins in on the biscuit team. Great idea to have the asset for to have like the graphics for biscuit not exist yet because it was a surprise join. That is very smart. And in general, these graphics are actually just quite good. Then we end up having a couple of people reclimb. The corn dog ends up having the idea of just diving off because they want to try to do the yoga ball strat, but they're not bouncy. How do these people exist? Floaty ends up helping them out because, like, they've got nothing to play for. Cork and Glue gets no, they're still trying to get up there. Broccoli ends up finding some running shoes, which is pretty cool. Yeah, they had to find it because of the broccoli power. I know, right? Broccoli just got those broccoli senses. All right, then hold on. What are you called? Toy capsule. Yes, toy capsule because you captured the toy. Okay, I remember the name. I won't forget it. I promise. Toy capsule ends up getting up. And then decides that they have a plan. What is this plan? Well, this plan is apparently that. Toy Capsule is going to stay there because if they join as last place, they will enter the team of first place and the team that overall has the average of best performers, right? Because they have 1, 7, 8, 14, 15, I think. Which is an interesting tactic, okay? It's it's okay. It's technically a good idea. It's not really a good idea because the thing about this challenge is that speed doesn't measure skill, right? Like not yeah, no, it doesn't really. In this because this is directly a speed-based challenge. Your challenge is get up to the top the fastest. However, like the people that will get to the top the fastest are likely to be the luckiest ones, right? Who try around the thing and it works. That's kind of why some of the cat headphones doesn't do anything, and then it's first place. And like you know who's first, which is interesting because like you really want to be on a team on the cat headphones team, right? Which is like it's weird. I don't think that this channel necessarily measure performance. Could people do way smarter things and end up lower because it just takes longer, right? So I disagree. I don't think that the teams are necessarily going to be measured. Like the performance of the teams are going to be measured by like that. I kind of disagree. However, yeah, we end up having the Venus flytrap fella find the grappling hook thanks to the trap itself. They end up calling over Harp, and then Harp goes like, okay, sure, I'll go up there. So then they do go up there. They were thinking, yo, should I do betrayal? Or should I should I not do betrayal? And then they eventually decide to not do betrayal and actually bring the Venus flytrap up. I feel like they probably wanted to do betrayal. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Harp was the whole, oh, I'm trying to get ahead in the game. However, yeah, I mean, you're gonna need a little bit of social skills to get, like, you're gonna need a little bit of social points, right? Because, like, at the end of the day, this show, for as much as it's purgatory, okay, for as much as it's a concept, I'm gonna be honest, these shows never end up sticking to the concept. I really wish they did, but they never do. Remember Lockdown with that whole overcomplicated method, and then they just scrapped it after like 2 episodes. Yeah, it's like this. Like, I really like the concept of Purgatory. I hope they keep it right with the whole thing. But I'm sure eventually one of the channels is gonna be, like, "Ooh, your Purgatory channel is gonna be the other people who vote for you." And it's like, bro. Like, um. But yeah, those two end up coming in together, 6th and 7th, respectively. Then those fellas in the dive off. Crayon Box eventually just kind of gives up listening to Corn Dog, because Corn Dog's idea is, yo, if we just think that the roof is the floor really hard, then maybe it is and we'll be there. Yeah, that makes sense. No, it doesn't. Well, okay, good luck to them. Broccoli ends up getting up with the shoes. Then they proceed to um decide, yo, I'm gonna keep these, right? Or then the host goes like, no, I'm not gonna keep these. So then they're like, yo, I mean, I'm just gonna take another trip around. I mean, I can get up anytime. Which, I mean, okay, I guess. Yeah, I guess. Like, especially if apparently getting last is better, right? Then okay, sure. Um, that's, I guess, a tactic. For some reason, everybody makes fun of the toy capture for sounding like that. I don't know why. Is it the accent? Is it the accent? They sound like taco, I guess. I don't know. They watch II, but they ended doing their whole thing. Um, uh, wait, does Grass Block? No, Grass Block wants to climb the ladder. Yeah, okay. Grass Block and Blue Bow end up climbing the ladder, making even more people. Yeah, okay. Cork and Glue end up getting up with their whole tactic. It takes a little bit, but they do that. Then they eventually get Glue to go in there, and then Cork ends up waiting over on Toy Capsule to ask them. Toy Capsule ends up saying their idea, and then Cork goes like, "Yo, we can do that together, right?" Okay, so what do we think about this? So first of all, I know that there's going to be the whole thing because, of course, what eventually happens. However, I mean, Cork is directly being mean here. They gotta point out. Okay, let's just talk about this. I mean, it happened later in the episode. I'll just talk about it. I'll just talk about it. It's a good segue. Um, so basically, yeah, what proceeds to happen is these two end up being the last two until eventually Toy Capture gets kicked off because it just so happens that standing at the edge is a bad idea. Right? It's not a good idea, right? Especially as they're like not as they don't tell the trophy the idea, and you're like, yes, did you not clock this? Did you not clock that somebody could push you up? There's literally no tactical reason not to, right? But yeah, eventually Trophy, when they eventually get up, they push them off, right? And Toy Camp trying to bring Cork down, and it's like, oh my god, it's the betrayal, because I got them together, right? And then we're like fighting, right? Okay, but it's like Cork is not innocent here at all, because Cork is specifically the only reason why Cork is there is because they wanted to dodge being on the same team as Glue. The only reason that, oh, Glue's is the nicest person alive, and you're like, for some reason, don't like them because they called you Corkalicious one time. So then you're specifically going to throw to not be their teammate, right? Which is like which is mean as shit. Okay, yeah, like the nice person, you take advantage of them, and then you're not even on their team, and then they're like super sad at you, but you don't completely like them. The only reason you're here is because you don't like Glue, but Glue likes you. At least, it's like, what? Come on. Right. So I don't so the fact that Cork is down there, I mean, yeah, okay, it's Toy Capsule's fault for not letting them like get out or whatever, right? But like at a certain point, it's also not your fault. I don't have remorse for Cork. It's Cork's fault equally, in my opinion. Right? Like I don't hold remorse here because they also did a mean thing. They were specifically here to not to dodge one person, right? Which is like very mean. So nah, I don't really care. I don't really care. Cork did earn it, in my opinion, because it's kind of dumb. Um, Then the water fountain, which the bird, what is it called? It's not bird bath knife. Whatever. Then the grape ends up being too small, and the host goes like, "Yeah, I can't help you, but yeah, my bad for having stairs." So next challenge, we won't have stairs, I guess. Grape ends up asking to get helped up, which they do. However, they end up going on to their monologues, and then they don't say yes, so they end up being stuck there. They're kind of dumb. The spray ends up getting up on the rope. Yep, I remember that. Then we have, yeah, the trophy has just been sitting there. Or no, are you a trophy or a chalice? You are a chalice, right? You look like a trophy. I'm sorry. You look like, they're like the same acid, but without the handlebars. Okay. Then yeah, have the propeller hat. Yeah, the propeller hat ends up getting Sketch and the roll up there. However, they forget to bring their other teammate down there. So Sunday yet again continues on the useless on the useless people ladder of people who can't do anything else. So they're just like, yep. I mean, I guess this is my best bet. So they get the arms. The grass block actually gets Sunday up, which is pretty nice. I mean, at least they could climb a ladder. I love, I love broccoli in the background going. Um, then just climbing. Okay, everybody gets up. Everybody ignores Grape. Then Bluebo ends up being the last one of them to join for some reason. We end up having the last team. Oh yeah, Grasswalk ends up on the same team as Cat Headphones, which is of course just great. Um, then Chalice ends up sending out everybody down. Yeah, ends up yeeting down the ladder because we don't need anybody. Like we everybody who was gonna use it can use it, and then everybody else doesn't, which is pretty interesting. However, that means that Crayon, who was down there, is interesting. Everybody forgets Crayon exists. To be fair, Sam. So that's like fair. Yeah. Then we have the whole scene with Trophy. They bring down Cork. Grape doesn't get in again. And then we have the final 5 people. Okay, so Corndog gets up because the ladder that falls onto the handle, which means that it gets yeeted up specifically to the top. Uh, is that how that would work? No, right? No. Because there would need to be space. No, yeah, no, that's not how that would work. Because, for the corn dog to get flung up, surely it would need to be, at an edge. That way there's enough down to, have the fling up, right? Because before it can get flung up, a section of the corn dog has to go down, right? Because it has to go that way. However, if you're literally laying on the floor, it's not gonna work if you just yeet something down there. I don't think it's gonna do that because there's a floor beneath it, so it's not gonna be able to pick up that initial wind of gust of momentum. Yes, why am I talking about physics in the middle of episode of Purgatory? The answer is I don't know. I just feel like when we write convenient writing, I should inconveniently make it inconvenient. So, yeah, Corndog is up there. They get the grape up there because they just think they're a bug. And those two make it up there despite being the biggest failures ever invented to mankind. Good job to those two. Anyways, we then have not many people left. Crayons, Cork, and this fella, yeah, Cork and Toy Capsule, and then Broccoli. Broccoli, of course, has the power of the shoe, so they can just get up anytime. And then Crayon just has to absolutely just make a YOLO effort. Really, like, yo, Broccoli, I need this. Broccoli, I need this. So they end up offering a crayon, okay, to Broccoli. Like, yo, I mean, I don't like doing it, but yeah, of course, they'll offer a crayon. And Broccoli goes like, yes, which is very surprised. I mean, is it surprised? Broccoli is kind of a big fan of useless items, so those two end up somehow getting up. All it took was a crayon. Hey, we don't. I don't know. I don't know what Brock is going to use the crayon for, but this is the type of thing that Brock is going to do. And that means that Cork and Toy Capsule end up being the final two. They both make a mad dash. Cork ends up using the same glue from earlier to go up plank by plank, and they see that they're going to get up earlier. However, then the actual top of the capsule gets thrown at Cork, which makes them fall. and then Toy Capture has the lead. They manage to barely cling onto the rope. Cork ends up absolutely pleading, but unfortunately it doesn't work, and Toy Capture ends up successfully making it last and onto the best team. And that means that Cork is in purgatory. Yet again, do I feel bad? No, I know, I really don't. I really don't. Like nah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You deserve it. You deserve it. Okay. Toy Capsule was playing the game. You were specifically trying to dodge someone, and then they said, "Ooh, yes, this is a smart tactic because it gets me to dodge glue." And like screw off. Screw off. And then we have ourselves the teams that, for the meanwhile, will end up getting named. So, the first team, the team with the big old the cat headphones led team. Well, again, I'm saying led. There's no real team leader per se on, like, the teams. However, like, it's kind of a thing. So they end up naming each other the E kittens because they're elegant kittens apparently. Yeah, sure. We can go with that. Grass block is immediately like, yo, what the fuck? Everybody is just looking at grass block, argue about the name, and being like, ooh. Rage baiting grass block will be one of the funniest bits of 2026. Um. So okay, what does this team end up being? Okay, so I don't remember the specific order that they arrived up there, but it's roughly cat headphones, glue, the fishbowl, then it's grass block and floaty, and then it's toy capsule. This team is okay. This team is fine. Yeah. No, this team is fine. Yeah, okay, honestly, I can see good things for this team because, like, the thing about it is that there's not an anti in this team, right? Like, I see everybody's like pretty alright, Okay, people might find Grapple mildly annoying, but Grapple does have a certain degree of ideas and a certain degree of wanting to follow along, right? So that's fine. Cat headphones is not really too bothersome in the sense of, like, they're not really going to care too much. Toy Capsule is a strategist. We've heard it. It's very tactical, right? Glue is pretty gullible. I mean, they're currently pretty sad, so we're gonna need to see if that impacts their performance. And again, Floaty and Fishbowl will most likely just go along with it. So I think that this seems pretty decent, right? Because there's no negative energy going on in this team other than, like, Grass Block and the fella, but there's not too much negative energy. There's nobody that feels like they would work against the team, right? So if Toy Capsule can invent an idea that these people can understand, because I feel like someone like Grass Block might be difficult to explain to, but if Toy Capsule can invent some type of idea that works for the team, and we can kind of have here a solid team. I think I see good future for this team. I absolutely do. Because yeah, there's good idea makers on this team for sure. Then we've got ourselves the Yoga Ball team, which ends up naming themselves Psych Trap because it's the acronyms of everybody except for Venus Flytrap. So they end up being called Psych Trap. In order of getting up there, I believe it's the freaking yoga ball, then it's the spray, then it's the Venus flytrap, then it's Blue Bow and Sunday, and then it's the crayons. Okay. This team is honestly it's kind of rough. It depends. Okay, it depends on how much the spray can is going to work against them. Right? It kind of depends. Are we going to be directly dismissive of the team, or is this guy actually going to try to get the team? Basically, is this going to be the type of, like, meaner character who tries to make the team work, or are they specifically going to try to do everything themselves regardless of what the team's best interest is? Right? That's the question. I'm not sure what type of character we really are. However, it depends on which one of the two it is. Then we might have it because everybody else, I mean, they can kind of make it work, right? Sunday and Blue Bow, they're kind of nice. Crayon is also kind of, you see, like, this is kind of the friend, this is, I like to say that every team has a power of friendship express, which is just a team that gets up there entirely on friendship vibes and no more, right? The object shows tend to have this. I feel that this is that, that they're relatively nice. They can do like round table discussion and be chill. It just depends on how much the spray does. This team is okay. I feel like in a challenge that requires a lot of like physical strength, it might be complicated. But I don't know, this pick is pretty good. But are they good? They are pretty good. Ooh, I don't know. This team might be in a solid spot. This team might be in a solid spot. It does depend though. It does depend. It's like, okay. Like I said, this team in a challenge that required precision, I think they lose. I mean a precision-based challenge because they're really clumsy. Sunday's kind of clumsy. Of course, the Vini Flash Type's clumsy. Yoga Ball's clumsy. Crayons are really clumsy. Yeah. There's a lot of clumsiness in this team. So if it's like a precision-based team, it's gonna be complicated. All right, then we have Cooler's team or ACT. A Cooler team is what it's called. ACT, ACT, whatever the hell. All of the above. So this, in order of reaching, is roughly bruh. Okay, it's Cooler, Harp, then it's the Roll, then it's the Pawn and Chalice, and then Broccoli. Bro, this team is oh god. Oh no. this Oh no. It's not looking good for this team. Oh my god. Okay, so we got Don't Do Anything Challenge. They got Broccoli that has ideas, but nobody can understand them, and nobody really cares to understand it because they find Broccoli really annoying to deal with. You got the Roll who tries to strategize, however, shuns people out way too much. Harp, which tries to play for the benefit of the game, yet again, probably way too much to get along with these people. Pawn, who's just kind of neutral, and Cooler, who's definitely not team leading. Okay, now this team's cooked. This team's cooked. Oh god, nah, bro. I mean, there's enough X factors with like the rolls, the random out there ideas, and the broccoli just kind of being broccoli. But like, there's enough X factors where this team could like YOLO a challenge. But I think actually just outplaying the other teams in a challenge is looking tough. Wow. Um, and then finally we have the last team, which is the team with Biscuit on it. Team Bugs. This is fourth place. This is theoretically the worst team on paper. Okay, so like on the positional scale, I think. So this is Biscuit. Wait, is this the eight of them? Hold on, I'm just checking to. No, it's not eight. It's six. Yeah, okay. So in order of arrival, this is Biscuit. A freaking fuck. The Ziploc bag. Then it's Sketch and the Moon Lamp, and then it's Corn Dog and Grape. This team is gonna wow. Okay, so there's Biscuit, Corn Dog, and Grape, which have there's the combined amount of useful thoughts that are going to be going on in those three is not many. Okay, then we have Moonlamp, however, who's pretty smart. Sketch, who will play along, and Ziploc, who and Zippy or whatever, who will also roughly play along. This team is half and half. Okay, like the thing about those three is that those three do have a relatively unique set of characteristics, right? Like about the first three, right? The goofy three is that like they have a relatively unique set of characteristics. Like Grape being small, it can definitely be useful, right? I mean, in this challenge, it's not good, but in certain challenges, it can definitely be very useful. Biscuit, we know that Biscuit can just kind of YOLO a lot of shit, and Corn Dog overall, in terms of like the literal like physical aspect of it, they're pretty okay. They just need to get told an idea that makes sense, right? So if those three can direct the other three, it would be okay. Like, I think this team looks terrible on a glance, but like Zippy and Moonlamp feel like a good duo. The other ones, as long as you just ignore whatever the hell Corndog's gonna say, and these two lock in, I feel like they can form some solid tactics for the team. Okay, so that is my idea of these four teams. I think the cooler team is cooked. I'm not gonna lie. I think looking at the cooler team, they definitely feel like the team that loses outright. And then the second place team, it just depends on the challenge really. But I think, in my opinion, I'll be very surprised if the cooler team doesn't get out. And then Purgatory episode 1B ends. So we got discovered that there won't be any more A and B episodes for probably the first time in history. I actually don't think that's a good idea. Honestly, I do like the concept of having A and Bs because it's awkward to do the purgatory challenge at the start of an episode. It's too dramatic to start. It's too dramatic to start the episode, and then the episodes take longer, and then everything, and you don't get to see the outcome immediately. Like it just and then they can get glossed over and everything, even though they're important. But then after you do the purgatory challenge, it feels like grandiose, like he's already done. Like it's just like it feels like it would be awkward to do the purgatory challenge at the end of an episode, right? So then and it sounds like such a well structured format. A episode, for example, 2A is challenge, right? And then they do the challenge, right? And everything, and it's great. Um, and then you vote out the two people, and then those two people do the purgatory challenge in 1B. We find out the elimination, and then we go back to A. So you see, it's like everything's important with A and B, right? Because you can do episode A, which has the voting and the teams and majority of the people. Then episode B can be entirely focused on the purgatory trio, which then you're wondering, oh, well, isn't that putting too much screen time on them? Well, no, because they don't get to be in the A episode at all, especially the purgatory person. So I do think that the screen time works out pretty nicely, right? And you'd be likely to vote out a mean character like either a character who doesn't get my screen time or a character who doesn't do that. So you get to show the B episode to get to show them off. And then that's everything. And then every episode is important because in the A episode you get to vote, in the B episode you get to see who's eliminated. So I think that honestly, in my opinion, splitting this show between episodes A and episodes B are perfect. They get out. They of course they get out faster. However, episode is important. They're split more properly. We have a more clear focus per episode, and everything is just cool. I mean, surely, just do A and B. Why not? I really want to know why not. No, really. Let me. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't know. Once upon a time, a Purgatory crew member watched this and commented, "Yo, why? Why not?" I need to know the counter reason, because I'm thinking about it, and it's literally perfect. It's literally why not? It's like it's perfect on every aspect. Do that or no? Like, what's wrong with it? I want to know. I need to I don't mind being wrong. I just need to know why it's wrong. What's wrong with the idea? It sounds perfect to me. But okay, I guess. All right. That is Purgatory 1B. I mean, I'm hyped for this. I'm not gonna lie. I see the hype absolutely. This show's pretty epic. But it's pretty epic. It's very well constructed. Animation's very good. The writing has been very good. The cast is excellent. I'm not gonna lie. The cast is excellent. They all have strengths, but they don't have enough strengths to make them like too much of a bias, right? Nobody's directly too biased. Like there was a lot of thought put into this cast, which is nice. You can really feel it, right? Because the show just works better as a result of the cast not being OP. Um, and then everything else is great. But yeah, not sure why we don't do A and B episodes in the future, even though I think it would make perfect sense to me. But ayo, it is the way that it is. Let's go to the next thing. Let's go. The next show that we're going to be taking a look at is DIBS, the other major release that we take a look at here in this episode. I mean, I don't never want to call a release less major than another, but like in terms of like view count and stuff, it's the more majorly. It's the one that the more people are on about, right? Is gonna be none other than DIBS 5, which released the other day as a reminder for where we were in Dibs. Last time we did a challenge that was about painting fences and shit. The fellas paint the fences. It wasn't, I think, necessarily extremely. It wasn't an extremely relevant episode. We eliminated Chip at yeah, the Dorito chip at the end of it after an epic sacrifice, and then also the like squiggly guy who that didn't really matter. We have a couple of arcs about like the team leadership going on, or like Kit Kat, and then the other fellow who was our team leader. There's a bunch of stuff. Yeah, the DVD case. There's a bunch of things going on in space because they kidnapped the butterfly or something, and they like the evil standings. The A ball was a robot. There's like a couple of things going on. Let's see what we end up developing on in DIBS, which is of course the show that works within its own like special bubble of functionality, right? Because it's scene by scene and there's no direct script to it. Boy Humbug. Let's go. All right, so that is DIBS 5, which is the fifth episode. Um, so let's begin here by, of course, as usual, remember the DIBS formula. Let's quickly remind ourselves of the DIBS formula. The DIBS formula is every scene is made one by one, and then the next person calls dibs and makes the next scene, right? Which is pretty cool. Um, and then, of course, with that system, there arrives all the complications and stuff about, getting together, like figuring out lore and whatever, right? Figuring out what we're going to do, what we're not going to do. But we start off here with a song, which I guess kind of replaces the intro. The fact there isn't a custom mask character intro for this episode might be one of the biggest crimes ever committed. I'm sorry, it's over. It's so over. Now, but, we have ourselves the song. Songs are a thing that happen a lot in this episode. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, we get to see what the characters want, which is interesting. Like like with the whole David going, oh yo, I want ladies and stuff, and then be like, yo, I want to go to Ohio for some reason, and then Whistle wants to like pick up the phone, and then the Matchbox wants a beer. Like it's cool. We got to see some stuff. We yet again use silhouette in some pretty smart ways. There's like some like these. This is the type of one-liner that's kind of interesting, right? Like just a simple one quote. Oh, from KCat, I want my team to like me. It's one quote, but as soon as you say that, that immediately adds on a pile of characterization that you just don't get otherwise. They just see adding characterization is not actually that complicated. It's kind of scary to do in a system like this because then other people get to play with it, right? So it's always kind of interesting. What is it? What is? Wait, what? The freaking got baby 8 ball in my bed. Okay. Microchips inside my head. That's what 8 ball wants. That's fair. I don't know. Wait, hold on. What 8 ball is currently there? Because 8 ball was a robot, and then they got revived, but they weren't a robot. But the real 8 balls with the other fellas, right? So like we revived the fake 8 ball, right? I think that's what we did. We revived like the fake 8 ball. Um, so that's like still the mechanical one, and then the real one's off in the flying ships or whatever, right? I think that's what's going on with the 8 ball situation. Dude that has a laboratory that, to be fair, has a sick ass design. Um, then we have we cheer. The other fellas are going up. Yeah, those fellas who got eliminated, they're flying over to the home planet. The butterfly is getting tortured because, of course, you are. Brand new gardening supplies, a chance to rip out David's eyes. Yeah, that makes sense. The David. Put milk and cookies. I'll eat it. Indeed. Okay. Then the fella wants a girly toy, which is a gun. That makes sense. The Smoochy wants a boy. Yeah, that makes sense. The the freaking Scorpio. Oh yeah, Scorpio Lolly. Okay, Scorpio Lolly. Oh yeah. Dude, this was a really interesting 1 second. Hold on, I want to get rid of that stupid bug. And then it's interesting. You get to see a POV of the Scorpio. actually working, and then they end up in jail. It's interesting. Yeah, Scorpio Lolly has this thing going on. They're one of the characters with the most like situation, right? Where it's like they do have the scorpion that they don't activate themselves. Okay, this kind of the question. Like, how does the scorpion work? Because the scorpion has seemed to unwillingly make Scorpio Lolly do a bunch of shit, right? However, at the same time, they both like treat it as if we can control it. So can we control it? That's kind of the debate here with the Scorpio Lolly. Is the scorpion actively a do is like a complete hindrance, as in there is nothing that we can do to control what it does, when it does it, and how it does it? Or is it something that we can actually control? Can we command the scorpion and the Scorpio Lolly to actually do whatever the hell they want, right? Like, for example, the post-credit scene, which again, like, it's the last scene, but again, it's a nice segue into it, where we're like, yo, I want this guy gone. And it's like, okay, sure, but can I do that? That's the question. Can this guy actually do that? Can this guy actually get the scorpion to do a command? Right? Or is the scorpion entirely independent? Because the scorpion does a bunch of evil shit, but it just, I don't know, it seemed to usually do the scorpion shit pretty independently from what Scorpio Lolly actually wants. So it's kind of interesting. Then I want a brand new trophy, or like a lemon knife. No, sorry. Then, oh yeah, the potion. The potion. No, you're not. What are you? Are you potion? I think you're a potion. Yeah, I already missed my kingdom. They want the kingdom back. This is okay. This is also interesting. The characterization on this, because remember, you're like the princess. Yeah, Princess Violet. That was your name. So this was like a thing that has been a detail that oh, you're like a princess from a kingdom or whatever. Hold on, what kingdom? How? When? Why? Right? Like all of these questions. We get to see a glimpse or two of it. We don't get to hear what the Christmas tradition was that we end up delivering here, which is unfortunate, because it is an interesting characteristic of a character, right? Like, you see, this is what we're doing, because DIBS is, I think, here at episode 5, we're starting to enter the era of, okay, we know who these people are. Now we need to give depth to the show, right? Like, I roughly remember and I roughly understand all the characters in the cast now. There's been a couple of episodes to do that. And okay, so now we need to, like, we've removed a lot of the immediate fluff. Every character roughly, has a certain basis of support, a certain basis of foundation around them. Now we need to build depth to this stuff. We're entering the middle game phase of the show. Not necessarily the middle game, but like transitioning into the middle game. So we gotta kind of like get sort ourselves out. And I think having this type of character is interesting, even though of course it gets cut off. Jack Hammer wants to build a kingdom. The other fella, who's Jewish? The computers? I think the computers are Jewish, like Clock and whatever. Okay, that's interesting. It's Christmas, la 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 la, and then the song ends after 4 minutes. Those were a long 4 minutes. Then we end up having the phone. The phone's upset because, yo, it's like I had a Christmas challenge, but my bad. So then we end up having the Christmas fella. They shoot down the Santa. I mean, the Matchbox shoots down the Santa, which was arriving. So that means that bro has died, which means that the challenge is the day of Christmas. The challenge is save Christmas. There is no other indication about what you have to do. You just have to save the Christmas. Okay? So how do you go about the challenge? So, okay, there is a very interesting detail in DIBS. But actively doing the challenge is technically irrelevant to a certain extent, right? Because, like, this guy, our host, cannot see, and they will have to take word of mouth, right? To a certain extent. And then it's like, okay, so this ends up, if you think about it, being more a battle for the viewer rather than a battle for the safety, right? Because, like, that's what kind of ends up happening. You can kind of do the challenge, but you're not really doing the challenge for the sake of directly winning, because you can cheat, right? However, if you cheat, it's not going to go down well with your fellow peers, right? If you ever end up going out for elimination in some way, or B, it's not going to go down with viewers in case they vote you. So it ends up, so it's, yeah, in this show, it's much more, I think, of a social battle rather than an actual battle, because you can just cheat, right? And this is a detail that we've actually just not fixed, like not necessarily fixed, but like this phone guy really has not. You got to start implementing, like, the phone's got to start getting a screen. You got to like switch to iPhone or something. I I don't know, like it's kind of complicated. But anyways, the fellas end up. Okay, so do that was like, yo, we should build toys to save Christmas. I guess, even though that's kind of the exact opposite of what it was. Oh, the elves are useless without Santa. No, wouldn't it be the other way around? The elves are still working, but just Santa kind of delivered them. Like, what? By the way, they'll do that. Then we end up doing Christmas activities. Could say Christmas, I guess. DVD case it just goes like, yo, we save Christmas. Christmas saved. We did a Christmas activity, bro. Um, so that's kind of cool. Putter ends up. We get to see, what did Putter do for Christmas? Apparently, get stabbed 100 times. What is this? Wait, what is this? Freaking tomato tea packet and lime tea packet? What is what? What? What emoji? That's not an emoji, but I've invented one just for that. Okay, interesting. I mean, again, characterization. I don't know what that means. What just happened? I don't know if it's for real, but it's interesting that it's there as like a detail, right? For future enhancements. So yeah, they end up being safe. Wisto ends up complaining, but hey, don't worry about it. They end up kind of doing that. And then we end up speaking to the mango statue, which ends up being spread the word of God, because that's the true meaning of Christmas, I guess. Because remember the religious themes like 3 episodes ago that we remembered now. Good job. Good job on remembering. Then what did the fellas do? Oh yeah, the smooch ends up just going like, yeah, let's go shopping. Because, Christmas is about shopping and getting gifts and having money. So, all right, they end up doing that. And it's like mildly, we don't get to see them do that. But, I mean, do we get to? We kind of get to see them do that. We get to see them do partially that. Then eventually we end up having Gardener and Big Pumpkin end up going over to the house because, like, yo, we want to decorate your house and stuff. But then DVD Case goes, yeah, how about you don't? I don't want this guy near my house. Capiche. All right. So far, look, all I'm saying is the word capiche is probably the strongest word in the history of DIBS, because as soon as DVD's case says the word capiche, every person that they're talking to will now listen to their commands. It is just a fact of the way that the people are writing the show. You just say capiche, and the other character goes like, fine. Right, like that's just how it goes. You see, this is what Kit Kat doesn't know. To be a team leader, you just gotta say capiche. It's not a difficult. It's, but okay, I mean, I guess you could, yeah, a capiche moment. Um, it's interesting. I mean, I am saying that as a joke, but like it is interesting how that is a detail that's happened twice. If I had a nickel whatever joke with Phineas and Ferb. Lemon Tea Packet destroys the entire house anyways because they feel like doing that. Lemon Tea Packet. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Out of every character in Dibs, Lemon Tea Packet has probably been the one I've cared the least about, to the point where I've genuinely. I remember like the other time I thought about Dibs, I literally forgot they existed. In this episode, they're like mildly more relevant. They're like cool. They have like a unique way that their like eyes look and stuff, but like I don't know, they just didn't do much. Okay, then Matchbox and Acid Barrel, whatever, end up carrying Santa's body. They get mad because of apparently this guy has been in jail too many Christmases. That makes sense. Then they end up singing a song because they feel like singing a song, and then we end up making them throw reindeer on top of in front of the Hyundai Sonata, and then Santa Claus ends up doing their thing. Okay, yeah, we do that. Then the construction crew ends up going, yo, let's get a tree and decorate the tree rather than decorate a house. They end up having their hats are propeller. Dude, that's so smart. Oh my god, you turned the eye upside down and you made the propeller and you spin. Yes. Okay, yes. Shout out that person. I don't know when I made that scene, but shout out to them. shout out that person. Then what are we doing? Oh yeah, they end up taking Duda's laboratory and being like, oh, great tree right here. Okay, then random side plot moment. Woo! So Sign and Button are of happy family that are doing that. Then they get knocked over. Whistle goes like, yo, this must cheer. Then they throw the freaking thing. It somehow ends up at Button, and then Sign goes like, yes. So they are married now. Yippee! Hopefully nothing bad will happen. Yay! Princess Violet didn't mind the shopping trip, I guess. Look, there's so much interesting that you can do with like actual like characters like this, right? Like characters that are like, yo, princess, but like has been taken out of the natural environment. Because like the thing about being a princess or like a prince or whatever is that you're placed in a meaning of importance, right? However, because you're placed in this meaning of importance, and in a way you might actually just be very good, right? Like fighting or whatever. Like you might have earned your way to this power. Once you get there, you have so many of the meandering tasks, like the tasks that aren't of direct maximum importance, done for you, that it kind of ends up that a lot of princesses and princes end up having this like different like world view in the way that it kind of works, where they're like they're probably a little bit better leading on the world because again, as far as they only see the servants who actively work for them, right? They don't get to do many tasks, so they might treat them as irrelevant or insignificant because these tasks are so insignificant, I don't even have to do them, right? Like shopping, do you even have to shop? I mean, in a kingdom, I feel like a lot of the time they don't. So like I feel like princesses are very like it's very interesting type of character. And I think that having something like Princess Violet there, I think there's some big characterization potential with that type of being, right? Because like it's just really interesting. At least to me, I find the character very. There's potential there, I think as well. Um, and then we have Strawberry Milk, who just deletes Glove. Sock doesn't mind somehow. They end up fixing the dude at laboratory as well because they felt like it. We end up taking a tree. Yeah, the other fellas end up taking a different tree. I love the fact that the tree just gets lifted up with absolutely zero effort. The other fellas are safe. They completed the chat. To be fair to that team, they did technically complete the chat. I mean, they saved Christmas in the way that they decided to save Christmas. You know, they were like, yo, Christmas is about buying gifts and shit. We bought gifts and shit. Yo, we were safe. So, like, okay, sure. That team ends up getting over the honesty. A lemon tea packet just goes, yo, I'm safe too. But then they go like, yo, I mean, we ain't safe though, Gardener. So then that's kind of cringe. So Gardener goes like, yo, I gotta be honest. So then they get a token, an F token. Dun 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 dun. What is an F token? I don't know. We'll probably find out in like episode 9. We're probably going to find out in episode 9. Oh, yeah, remember this token that somebody wrote into DIBS 5? Yes, let me use it. And then it's going to be a token that it earns you like free Chipotle. Like, it's not, I doubt that it's actually got much importance to it. But hey, token, yeah. Then what's this? The lemon. We end up stealing a bunch of presents from like. Wait, do we steal them from Dude's Factory? I think we do. Wait. Yeah, I think we take them from Dude's Factory. We take a bunch of presents there, and then Matchbox and Acid just go around delivering them in the moon, Hyundai Sonata, singing jingle bells because they feel like jingle belling. They have a good time and all that stuff, and then yeah, they go do that. For some reason, Lemon Tea Packet really wants to build a snowman, while the other team ends up being safe, and that means that Team Wear, I think is what they're called, end up being up for elimination, despite the fact that they were literally safe, but then they just specifically worked to not be safe. So they're the team who didn't save Christmas. Whatever. So let's see. We have Gardener, Jackhammer, Big. No, sorry. Gardener, Big Pumpy, Blueprint, Jackhammer, Lemon Tea Packet, and Duvet. This is a spam vote to eliminate. Okay, I'm gonna presume that this is true. Okay, because this show. Okay, the thing about the outros of the show, this show just kind of says shit. Right, like that's literally the joke of the credits of the show is that they say a wrong thing every time, like they lie, right? So, but I think this section is real. So spam vote to eliminate. I mean, it's really hard to predict because it's like it's just spam vote to eliminate. It's just who's the most motivated and who has the most pulling power, right, to actually spam that much. Because at a certain point of like, because this is spamming in the comments, which is interesting. Because the thing about spamming in the comments is that like it's a bit complicated because it's just You can't comment that many times, right? So like in general, before YouTube goes like, just stop. So there's like you're very limited, but it's kind of interesting. Okay, Duvid does nothing except get bullied in this episode. Lemon tea packet, I kind of don't really like them because I don't. No, I kind of no, I don't like. I don't not like them. I just don't care about them. Blueprint barely does a damn thing in this episode. They just kind of go like, oh, yeah, yeah. So they do that. Garden Bit Pump, I think, should be safe. I don't see them getting enough votes. Could Diffie get that many votes? I feel like it's the type of character that would have, however, a lot of writing against them, though. Like, who's a character has a lot writing against them, right? Because spam, it's spam. People are gonna somehow they're gonna be like, I dislike this character with a passion, you know? Duvid. I'm gonna say Duvid. I'm gonna say David. I don't think it's I don't. I'll be 100% understanding if it's not David, but I think I just have to predict David, bro, because I don't know who else. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see that other person currently getting out. Like this team has got some solid. Like Blueprint and Jackhammer were the ghosts of the other episodes. So we're Garner and Big Pumpy. Lemon Tea Packet is kind of in the middle, but at least they look interesting. And they've had an interesting episode. Like this episode was the most interesting Lemon Tea Packet episode yet. And then Davida just kind of the laughing stock. So surely, I mean, I don't know, but all right. Then we end up having the DIBS movie. Yippee. Then, oh yeah, the sign and button get like shot because they felt like they. Hey, look, I don't. Okay, okay. All right. Hear me out on this. Not a big fan of this because it removes the. Okay, because you want to hear it. I'm not a big fan of this scene because I understand why you do this scene. Okay, you will go like, okay, yo, I introduced the thing for a guy, but I gotta get rid of it because otherwise it's gonna be a guy. But no, guys are good. Like the thing about it is that having characters specifically for gags is fine because you can work it into the future and then it's better, right? Like you give yourself more options, the world starts feeling fuller. Even if it's for one gag, you showed off this batch of people later, like many episodes later, they can come back, and that's good because the episodes are like you know there's more continuity gets added, characters get kept, right? And then like you get to see them again, and again it fleshes out the world. Even if these guy characters they don't show up often, as long as they show up every couple of times, like a couple of times, it's fine. It helps the world help out. And I understand why we do this is because I don't have plans with these characters, so let's murder them, right? So that they're not a thing that are a problem anymore that we have to think about. But then it's lame because like these characters are probably not going to show up again, and it's like, come on, bro, because it's like I understand you want to do the gag, but like the possibility of these characters showing up in a couple of episodes would have made for oh yo, it's those two, right? And then like it helped. It's nice because it's a callback to itself. Shows are solid because they call back to itself, you know? It's like, I don't know, if freaking, you know, what the hell is it called? If BFTDIA, for example, right, if they brought in pan flu, right, and then murdered them that same episode, right, because, oh, we already Kevin McCloud. Okay, yeah, but, like, it's kind of lame at that point because it's like then they don't get to come back. But the fact that Panflu, for example, in BFTA got to come back multiple episodes, you know, and showed up later, it's like even though like it's interesting at the end of the day because even though it's a side character, it doesn't really matter. It helps the world feel full when it's like, oh, they exist as well outside of the competition, right? So eliminating these characters, so like literally murdering these gags for the sake of it, it's not very cool. You know, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. Shouldn't do that. Shouldn't do that. Should keep these people around so that way we can use them later. However, like this, we have just diminished our possibilities of cool future moments. You know, I'm just saying. That's my opinion. These characters should be kept around, but unfortunately, goodbye. Um, then we have the Scorpio Law scene, which you already talked about. Putter being like, yes, we should give me gifts every day, but then you're pushing it. And then the episode ends. Okay, what I think of the state of the state of DIBS is decent. It's working towards a goal. It feels like kind of what this show is doing. It's okay. I'm gonna lie. I'm not gonna. Yes, I'm going to like, ha ha. No, I'm not gonna lie. It feels like it's maybe one episode behind in terms of characterization. I'm not gonna lie, because like this is the types of details about characters that are like we should have these by now. Right? It's like by now we should probably have had the major character beats of a lot of these characters. But we have the major character beats of like half, and a bunch of them get introduced in this episode, and I don't even know how many of them matter, right? And then the other half I don't really know much about still, right? So it's like it's kind of it feels a little bit behind on the characterization. I feel like we should probably focus on that, right? Because okay, Dibs is a show where a lot of fun, goofy, random bullshit happens, but like it's it's also cooler if the goofy random bullshit happens and then there's story. Like those are like that's also that's also useful, right? Because I guess like because you can do both basically. Is what I'm saying. You can do both. Take an extra seat. No, I'm joking. But like I feel like you can do both. I feel like you should focus on having a little bit of additional characterization, right? Because like a bunch of these characters, like we know their baseline levels right by now, but then it's like who's important and who isn't. I don't really know. Um, and it's there's sort of an unevenness with like for example Scorpio Lolly. We can think a lot about Scorpio Lolly, but like for example a character like Whistle, what the guy who likes friggin' phones, I guess. Like like we've got a not very good balancing. So I feel like we should work on characterizing the rest of the cast, bringing them up to stuff, right? Instead of making unevenness, and then from there we can work it. We can work either to improve to form arcs with the characterization, or just use the characterization to make them do goofy stuff because they can do goofier stuff if they have reasons to be doing the goofier stuff as well. Like Matchbox has a decent deal of characterization, and therefore they can do really stupid, goofy shit. Same thing goes for like the Jackhammer, right? Like they've got the characteristics down, and they can do goofy shit. The UD case ends up being pretty important because they end up doing goofy shit. No, I mean they don't necessarily do goofy shit in this episode, but like the way that they're characterized because of the past few episodes actively makes them a bigger deal, and there's more things to do with them now. So yeah, absolutely characterize the other fellas, and then we will be chilling. Same thing goes for Gardner. Now that we know what Gardner's on about, what Big Pumpy's gone about, they get characters better, and they get better scenes, and they get better stuff, right? Like it's better, and I feel like a lot of this cast still isn't up to stuff, especially on the other teams. So yeah, that's all I can really say about Dibs Cinco right now. Let's go to the next thing that I have to take a look at. What is the next thing? I don't know, but it's the next one. Let's go. Okay, we're gonna go mildly out of order for the next thing that I'm gonna watch, all right? Because I'm gonna go based on length. Because the next thing that I should watch should be FourPoint. However, I'm not gonna do that yet. Because first, I'm gonna be taking a look at Battle for the Dream Island. So, not actually too many episodes ago. What episode even was it? It was episode 52, where we took a look at Battle for the Dream Island as part of Object December. In Object December, we had episode 12A release, which was an episode set over in the snow. And just as a reminder for where we went to Orange's studio in the city to go over and make a Christmas themed challenge, which was to cook a meal, and it has to be good. A couple of people ended up having a couple of chats. We were really beginning the challenge when we got cut off. However, Red or Host got murdered because that's fun. And yeah, I mean, I guess let's find out how the teams are actually going to perform, if they're going to care, what are they going to do. Let's find out heading into episode number 12B, Cook by the Book, transformed into a gas. Let's go. All right, that was BFTDI 12B, Cook by the Book. A pretty big episode, which is interesting considering you see it releases like 2 weeks after another big episode. I don't know what it is about it, but I just got a feeling. I think that the only reason why these are A and B is because we needed an Object Ember episode. That's I think that's the reason. I'm not gonna lie out here. I'm sorry. I don't see any valid reason to split it A and B in this case because like there doesn't seem to be a reasoning. Like it's not like you don't need that much time considering the episodes released 2 weeks apart and like it's not. I don't know. It feels pretty normal. But anyways, let's start off here with the fellas. Remember the fellas over there in the in the elimination area in Liney. Of course, they're still trying to utilize the rope, which Storytime Animator he somehow does hung themselves on, to utilize to try to get themselves out of there, right? To try to bring themselves to safety. Just one thing that I'm going to point out, as usual, still, I don't know how exactly this hole works, because, okay, I understand that, oh, it's chopped off, therefore there should be a hole. First, but again, you should be laid down, and remember, it's on the snow, so theoretically, shouldn't there be snow there instead of the sky? I don't really know, but, I mean, maybe that feels like what should happen, but either way, we end up having ourselves an intro. The intro, yes, the intro of the show, the one of the things that I have famously criticized quite a bunch. There's another intro. There's a new intro. Yet again, instead of having the characters float by like in BFB, they now each of them has a drops in. It's very fast. It is very fast. I'm not gonna lie, I like it. I enjoy it. It's cool. It fixes one of the primary problems that I had with the scrolling is that it's not good when it scrolls in one direction and the background's in another. That the square in the background also feels more purposeful to the way that we are actually acting, like it's in front of everything rather than behind it, right? Like it makes more sense. We end up dropping in on I think the elimination island that we used like 2 times over at the end, and then we have battle for Dream Island. A couple of okay, I don't think this is 100% accurate to the current state of things, right? Because we're utilizing like the old black hole asset, I think, and like the old if you like the freaking but rate what freaking platinum guide. I never remember the name of the square that's not inverted, the other one. So yeah, anyways, we end up having Black Holy eventually just kind of get shunned out of the city. Like, yo, there's not much for you to do here. You're my bad. So then they end up just kind of dipping and say, yo, that makes sense. They also end up getting the post-credit scene. I don't know what it is about this video, and every single time I'm told about the post-credit scene, like nearly first because it's like the thing that ends up propping up. Black Hole ends up being like, yo, what's the point of being on Earth if you can't enjoy it? What's the point of living if you can't enjoy it? And it's like, I mean, you can enjoy things. I thought that was what we were doing, like for a moment. You know, wasn't that the arc that we were doing? The like Black Holy like art drew art and was like, yo, I like art. I'm enjoying this hobby. I'm being a fan of this. Like, isn't this cool? But then oh no, you're not doing that. Okay, no. Now you're back to being like, oh, there's nothing I can do. I thought you were I thought you found the passion. I thought that was what the arc we were doing. No, we're not doing that. Okay, never mind. All right then. Um that's interesting. Then, okay, the team of Piston, yeah, and Scrolly ends up just kind of doing up a bunch of things. They end up plugging the revive machine into the TV, so currently that will act as the reviver for the moment. As we revive Galaxy Note 7. Is this a new asset? Is this new? Did it? I don't know. Wait, there's no way, because it's 12A, right? Like, hold on. Did you already have this asset? Uh, no, I think you already did, but it just looked different because it was cracked. Okay, yeah. But like we get to see it in its like natural state, I think, for the first time. Um, Orange ends up asking to recover Red. Red's pretty upset. Then the book turned into a gas. They end up kind of conjuring together a team. Yeah. But there's this one guy who keeps appearing. They have like Spamton eyes. I don't know what's their deal, but I'm sure it's funny. Okay, yeah. Then we have the Puffy who ends up leading their team. If you remember by by their request, right? Because the Rock was doing pretty well. They were like, yo, I'm gonna lead this team. So then they're doing okay. They're being very assertive leadership. They're being like very rude leadership. Again, this guy is like reasonably okay at leading a team. All right, bro's like fine, right? However, there's a here in this case, they're getting aggressive because the pressure's on. All right, because when like the thing about a leader is a leader needs to be able to absorb the pressure, right, of being the leader, of being the one whose mistakes count, right? Because like if the team fails, it falls back on the team leader, right? Which means that like you need to be capable of absorbing that responsibility and not having it change your leadership. That's what makes a leader, right? That's what makes a leader in a team, being able to absorb responsibility and not letting it impact you, right? Um, in the other team, they were able to do this relatively confidently because they didn't have anybody else to challenge them. However, in this case, since The Rock was being super like assertive, in this case, right, like this like the putty whatever the side like if I was PO'd. I never remember the name. It showed up in the credits, but I will never remember it. Ends up going, yo, I'm gonna. I can finally lead the team, but now there's the pressure because like if I fail, not only am I probably gonna be out for making the team throwing right for the team, and it's all that jazz, but then I also, just want to be leader, and then it's like I have to prove it, right? Which ends up feeling the pressure, and I don't think they're feeling that pressure very well. They're leading the team decently, but they're just being very aggressive, which make the other team members kind of work in resentment rather than work with it, right? At the end of the day, especially in a challenge like a cooking challenge, you have to kind of enjoy it. They say that cooking's about the love and stuff, so yeah, that ends up being complicated. Then we end up having a new arc drop. The grinder box says one sentence to Sideways Piggy Pet. Like, yo, weren't you leading that one time? It's like, oh yeah, that was the thing that I was doing. And then later on in the episode, after those two are like, yo, I'm gonna be, I can maybe prove myself as a leader again. Is that okay? I guess that could be a thing. That's interesting though. So we might have three leaders in the same team. This is the leader team. um. Eventually, Pink Triangle ends up going over to the hospital. The hospital go like, "Yo, by the way, what is this? What is this? There's like a I don't think this is an item that exists in the world. It's like a medicine box, it's like a medicine character. But then I went like, yo, do you have a reviver? Yes. Okay, then we shoot the guy. Um, because it's like, yo, if you have a reviver, then yeah, this is treatment. Um, because like basically, yeah, they can't really fix a brain. It's like if you split a brain in half and like you put the brain, like it's not gonna work. You can't just connect the dots together in a way that actually matters, right? So it does make sense. Again, at a certain point, yes, recovery is the best way of treatment, right? If that's a thing that you can do. So yeah, that makes sense. Then Scrolly ends up going, yo, what does she like? She likes turkey apparently because of the one time they were in school, alongside ADHD, which is interesting. Um, who are these people? Who is on here? Yo, is that H2O2 I'm looking at? Is that H2O2 in Among Us potion? Hold up. Hold up. Hold on a minute. Is that what's going on in the background? Is that who I'm seeing? I feel like that's an interesting duo. Okay. Um, but yeah, they're trying to make a turkey, which is pretty difficult to do. But they decide to do that anyways because of the power of a song. Let's go. Piston ends up singing, yo, we should sing. Right. And then they end up doing that, which is pretty cool. Then, yeah, no, they do just sing. Singing is pretty good, but shout out to singing on the Christmas. That's how you know it's a Christmas special. If there's singing, that's not very good, but hey, at least it's charming. And then the turkey doesn't end up very good. So yeah. In the meanwhile, the wait, are you the wait? The with the red guy. Highlighter and then H2O2 somehow managed to turn red into ham, which is insanity, by the way. That is that. How is that a real thing that's just happened? I don't know, but that's what the characters are saying too. So at least that's fair. Yeah, fair enough on them for doing that. I mean, okay. Ah, is it fair enough for them for doing that? Not fair enough for them doing it. How the fuck do you do that? What are your morals? But anyways, they end up exploding the room because, of course, they end up doing that whole shenanigan. We get to see H2O2 slowly tearing apart. That actually looks sick. I'm not even gonna lie. But then we end up having their life flash before their eyes. All right, and then as they have the life flash before their eyes, they end up remembering all of the moments that they had with the glass panel. Why can I not remember your name? Am I stupid? The fucking cube's the other one. Bro, am I... Bro, I'm actually cooked. Anyways, but like this guy ends up having all the memories, that they had with the glass panel, right, and everything. That they end up doing the whole shit. No, you're called Red War. Yes. Oh my god. Wow, that took me a while. Okay. Holy fuck. Okay. Look, my brain remembers. It just takes a moment because it has to speak at the same time as it remembers it. So that's kind of why it's complicated. I'm not very good at multitasking, surprisingly enough. Um, but yeah, they have all of their memories and everything about the times that they were together. They were playing games and shit, and they were laughing. They were at the park, and there was like the pissing with them all the time. And then they joined the show, and then we have the times where they were chatting, and then they get to realize how they were getting mad, but then they weren't saying anything, and they were just ignoring them, right? And then as they have like this moment of well, not necessarily realization. I don't know if they realize anything, but it didn't say anything. Well, this is the goofy arc. This is the arc that is kind of not very good in my opinion, right? This is the art that happened in reverse, right? Because again, it's 100% this bro's fault. Well, we somehow managed to twist it so that it was Glass Panel's fault. It's like I don't know. I mean, it's one of those situations where it's complicated because is it too late to look back on it? Yes. Yes, I think because it's already too late because we've already had the apology from the glass panel, so we can't reverse it. We can have like a reconciliation. Like, oh, I realized my ways or whatever, right? But like in general, it's a mildly too late probably to like properly turn it around. However, they can probably have a reconciliation, yeah. Then Red talks to Orange a little bit. Orange goes like, yo, I don't know, but like, no plans with your help because you remember the Owlgate incident. I don't know what the Owlgate incident is, but considering this is the same guy that just got shot and turned into ham, it's gotta be pretty bad to be worse than whatever's going on over here. So, is this a, hold on, wait a minute. What did this guy say? Hold on, wait, hold on. Wait, did this guy? Hold on, give me a moment to hear it. Algae? It's just algae. Because YouTube subtitles think it's algae, but it's not like I can't think of what other color it would be. Reasonably speaking, I can't. Like I'm trying to think of it, and I'm like I don't know. What is it? Like it's like freaking. So it's something. But anyways, yo, why don't you just quit? And it's like, yo, maybe I should do that. Okay, so this is deploying on another little bit of a moment in obvious shows, right? That is interesting. A lot of object shows have meaningless prizes, and a lot of the time we realize that the prize is meaningless, so we don't understand it. Why don't we quit? Okay, the reason why is actually extremely simple. It's that like a lot of the time in a show, you can't quit because you don't like the punishment for losing, right? Like that's kind of why a lot of people compete. Even if at a certain point you don't like, being in whatever the hell, right? Even like for example, in BFTDIA, for example, imagine BFTDIA. If you, because I like using BFTDIA as an example because it's the most popular thing currently going, right? If you have the prize is meaningless, and the characters know that the prize is not very good, right? However, at the same time, you don't want to be stuck in a box if you lose, if you get eliminated. So you still don't want to get eliminated. You're still going to fight to win because of not only the prize, but also to not lose, right? And this is the same thing. Like, if you can't just quit, because if you quit, you're not going to get to live your normal life. No, you're going to go into the lining chamber. Like, you're gonna go into that liney freaking void for freaking years, right? If that's what you're going to, that's what's going to happen to you. So it's better to be in the competition and live than to actually be there. So that's why quitting is not an option usually. Now, the interesting situation is that we're currently in a situation where Liney's not around, right? Red has the hosting powers. However, like, yeah, Liney's not around, so Red can't technically officially quit. However, it's like kind of complicated because like in the same way as like Roblox like currently has been eliminated but hasn't actually of course went within the lining because it's not quite like over yet, right? So it's the debate. if red were to quit right now, well, Liney is still incapacitated because Liney should be coming back. It's just a thing that has to happen. I don't know what bullshit we're gonna invent so that if they do come back, but surely they have to come back. Right? Again, just have a show and no hoes all the time, right? Like surely, okay. But the question is that if red would quit right now while Liney is gone, when we eventually come back, right? When eventually Liney comes back, would red proceed to get eliminated and then brought into the thing, right? Maybe. Maybe or maybe not, right? Like for example, when Lani comes back, is Roblox like going to get officially into the thing, or is because they got eliminated and it didn't happen, then they get to live? That's just the question, right? So it's a big risk for Red to quit because they don't want to go in the thing. And at the end of the day, we're not really that far into the show. Well, we're like less than halfway, so it would be a shit ton of time to be in there. You know, it would be a long time. It would be a long time. So like that's the current situation. I don't know if the quitting is the best idea, but yeah, that's kind of the whole shebang. It's a very interesting to me that situation. What do I think? Would it work? I feel like it wouldn't. No, I feel like it wouldn't. I feel like it will get set up because it's probably a second. Like the thing about it is that there's a second rejoin. There's absolutely a second rejoin. But to be fair, Barbara didn't either because Barbara went up to hell, whatever, with all the bad people in the world, right? So technically, it doesn't matter, right? But Barbara doesn't count. Barbara doesn't count because Barbara was eliminated on like a out of world reason, like it wasn't because of the show. So I don't think Barbara actually counts. Even though I don't know. Again, I just make a ripoff called Martina or whatever, make that a character. But like I don't know. Either way, yeah, it's interesting. We'll have to see. I don't think quitting is the best idea. It's a bit too dangerous, especially at this stage in the game, because you're just gonna get to be in the void for a while, right? Like maybe temporarily, but as soon as Lightning comes back, they're probably gonna suck you up because you're gonna be needed eventually for a rejoin because there's surely a second rejoin in the history of the show in the later half, right? So it's kind of complicated. All right, Dorian keeps back. Let's go. We eventually have the Papery lose their shield of protection, which is unfortunate, but hey, it had to happen somehow, and this exposure is a pretty good way to make that happen. Then, oh my god, holy shit, thing that's happened! We get to see the piston of the piston. Remember the piston of the piston that you never get to see except for the body guy? We actually get to see it. It's actually like an angle. OMG! First time in the history books. We ain't never seen this before. I know I said this. Okay, here's the deal. I said this, and I know that like Ice Coffee did watch it. Did watch the catch-up. So like there's a certain degree where as soon as I say something and it actually gets pointed out in the show, now I'm like, hold on. Did I do that? But I don't think I did because it's been like 12 days since I was 12A. So I think that just happened on accident, which I think is pretty cool. Anyway, yeah, shout out to the piston of the piston. I'm still waiting for the date that it actually gets used for the sake of a challenge. But anyhow, the challenge is done. We end up seeing the red meat. Apparently, the red meat is extremely good. Even though, yeah, Red eventually realized, yo, did they just eat me? But, let's not think about that. Yeah, can they not dwell on that too much? Please. I beg of you, not do that. That is genuinely uncomfortable. Alright, then they end up doing that. Okay, I don't know how the voting system for this works too much. It's like a star rating. They generalize the stars that they give to the teams to like the average of the star rating, which is no, I only found this weird because the first one with the red meat on it was it showed like a screen with 5 5 5 5 because everybody gave it a 5, but it doesn't show 5 star. But they don't do that for any of the other ones, which is what makes it a little bit awkward, right? But yeah, we ended up doing decently. Windows is sad because the other fellow tells him to shut up. Come on, you can walk. And then they end up losing. Okay, which teams lose? So the team that the cookies end up being good, then the stuffing ends up being okay. The Remy ends up being a fantastic, and then finally the vanilla cupcake doesn't work because the milk is apparently expired. I think the milk is expired. It's like 10 years old. So they get a 0, and that team gets out, which makes for a bad situation, right? Because bro apparently checked the milk and it's not their fault, and now Rock starts complaining over them like literally the entire time. I well, it gave you one chance and you got out. Right, and all that jazz. And then we have a big old crash out. Like, I was trying to be different. I was trying to lead a team, so at least I will be given a did effort if we lost or whatever. But as soon as I don't do that and I give faith to you, you lose whatever because you're a bad leader in H2 or whatever. Right? Okay, interesting. And they end up having the debate. So what was the issue? Apparently the milk was expired. The problem is I think they got the milk in 12A. They got the milk in 12A, so I don't actually remember if that was a detail that was pointed out in 12A, that it was like expired. Hold on, let me quickly hop onto 12A. What is going on here? Is this actually a thing that happens? I don't know. I always see it. I'm looking. I'm not seeing much. I swear, do they actually I don't think they actually do that in episode 12A. Okay, then they don't do anything. Or do they? No, I don't think they do. Okay, never mind. That's interesting. Well, I guess we just never get to see the milk getting grabbed. We never get to see who's actually technically responsible. Although it's apparently the cool triangle. So, yeah, they're up for elimination. Savvy, Piggy, Pickle, like, yo, we're not getting eliminated, so that's fine. Red is like, I'll visit soon. They end up driving. Don't worry, Red. You won't get to visit them. You'll end up probably in the liney place. No, this is not a task that you want to be delivering. Okay, so the brainy winners. This is the team that has the turkey that's not very good. It's like just very, very below average. So Santa Galaxy No 7, Ginger Shaw, Piston, Scrolly, and Mr. Straw. Ooh, okay, this team did okay. They kind of did the friendship. Ginger Shaw and okay, Piston is safe. I think Note 7 is reasonably safe. I think, okay, it's gotta be Straw. Because Straw both doesn't have many scenes in the episode, and if you try to remember them, they're generally one of the meaner characters, right? The more meaner outgoing characters, right? And everybody else seems to arrive from a pretty solid place, right? Like, No 7 was dead, Squirrely had the song, Piston was nice and was in the back, and was shown being the nice one in the back, in the backlash, in the flashback, right? And Ginger Shaw just interacted a lot. So I think Mr. Shaw should be going on this team in a vote to eliminate, absolutely. And over in the other team, this is the team that actually matters in terms of the elimination, because the other team kind of just goes up for elimination based on okay, but this is the team with the drama on it. So here we have a bunch of people. So there's the two leaders that, of course, have that issue. We have Putty and you have the little rock. Okay, those are debating. Grind Sideways Piggy Pug has that line at the end, which could bring them interesting amount of votes, right? Graining Tea's fine by just not associating. Grinder Bar should be fine by just being nice. And Blue Glass Panel does also have something to do with it because we reference, of course, that whole drama with Red Wolf. I don't think that'll be enough votes. I think Blue Glass Panel's fine. And again, Blue Glass Panel's innocent. This show's bullshit. Okay, great voting icon, by the way, for Blue Glass Panel. Wow, that actually looks really good. I like blue. Did you know? I like the color blue. Um, dude, I don't. This one's tough. This one's tough. Could I see Sad Figure getting surprisingly eliminated because they're like, we won't get eliminated, so it's like fuck off for assuming that, because that's a thing that people might do. That is absolutely a thing that people might do. Just proper YOLO. Be like, oh, you said you ain't getting eliminated, right? Like something like that. But I have to say there remains a Putty Ava. It's Putty. I think it's got to be. I think that has to be that's the presumption here. It just feels like the one that makes the most sense. Unfortunately, but yeah. Black Hole complains about life or whatever. Like, why? Go draw. I thought you liked doing that, bro. Whatever. Whatever, bro. Anyways, that is currently the state of BFTDI 12B. It's currently double eliminations are feeling a little bit awkward. Like having like at least probably them until 15 makes sense, but the way that this episode is written is kind of weird because one team kind of fails by being okay. Like it's weird. Like these two teams are one team has such a drama going up for the elimination, and everyone's like, yeah, I mean, we tried. Like there's not too much going on one team. We know the other team is chaos supreme, right? Which make the two teams up for elimination feel very unbalanced in how much they matter, which is kind of which is kind of weird, right? Um, so I don't know. I feel like we should probably write like the a little bit more balance between the teams that are actually up for Elam, but I understand it because that leader team is pretty important. In the cases of it. No, but to be fair, the other one does have the song, but like the song it doesn't actually mean they do much. Like the song doesn't mean they sing. It doesn't actually mean that much. They don't actually have that much. They just sing for a little bit. And I have a way that's like shared with a different team that also sings it. So it's not too much. But yeah, other than that, I mean, overall it's pretty solid. There's plot lines going on. There's some interesting arcs which I like or don't like. But yeah, cool stuff. We'll be awaiting episode 13. Hopefully not A and B. Let's go to the next segment. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bum. What's the song from the town? You gotta do the cooking by the book. Yes, you don't get lazy or whatever. Okay, let's go. All right, so the next thing that we're going to be taking a look at is FourPoint. So FourPoint, if you remember, the fourth season of the Object Point reboot has started about a month ago with Don't Question a Good Thing, a very BFB inspired little episode. Where we had pretty much just we got to see the cast and them act around and have a couple of adventures and stuff, and then eventually as they tried to get the Mi phone back or the iPhone, whatever, a star pops out, presumably our host, and it's time to actually do competition because it's time for 4.2 star of the show. It's longer than the first episode. It seems like the first like real beefy episode. Let's watch it. Let's talk about it. Let's do that stuff. Bang. Alright, so I have just watched 4.2 star of the show. So we immediately start off here with, of course, the appearance of the big old star, which is a very 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 interesting thing, okay? Because I was wondering this when we were starting to like figure out that this show was actually just taking the same vibe as the seasons of BFDI, right? Is that to do BFB, you have a very interesting situation that Object Point is in, right? Because here's the deal. Four is an insane, crazy host, right? That's who Four is at the end of the day, right? However, one of the things that makes Four immediately supremely interesting is that Four acts as a nearly 100% opposite viewpoint to nearly the entirety of the cast, right? Like in terms of energy, literally nobody, pretty much nobody in the B&B cast is capable of just directly matching the energy that 4 gives. It's a completely different style of energy, right? Which means that when we place it into Visha, right, it becomes a whole different ballgame because the average energy that gets given out from the contestants of Object Point is so much higher and so much crazier already that it makes an entirely different ballgame. A host like Four doesn't necessarily immediately function, right? However, like for a host like Star to be able to give that same counter energy, it has to be amped up even more, right? And you can tell that that's what happens here at the beginning. You can tell it's just absolute chaos. They go wow every time somebody says a word, right? They screech and then they yeet people and then they zap and then they do anything. They have like one arm, except when they have two arms. They have an unknown amount of arms, and then it's like they kind of just do what they do what they want, right? They don't say anything. But then here's the distinction. They want to battle for an object point, right? Okay, that's pretty cool. However, for once, first time in the history of object shows, people don't actually want a object point. We don't know what it is, but the contestants here don't actually want it. They don't care, which means that they continue to be mad by like beating them up and stuff, right? Which just makes it really it makes it intensely interesting, right? And like they end up sort of literally fighting back against Star. Right, and Star's like, we don't care if you murder us or you don't murder us. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. I don't give a shit, right? Because like they don't care, they really do. The other people they join for show. I mean, of course they learn it because they like the BFTDI, but at the end of the day, a lot of them are doing it because of fear. The object point contestants, to be fair to them, they don't have any fear. They just yeet themselves into the situation regardless, right? Which is what makes for this whole shebang to actually take place, and it's really really interesting. I'm not gonna lie, it's just to look at is quite cool. Eventually, after one of the fellas mentions the recovery center, they end up zapping it away, not zapping it away, by making it disappear. And now everybody's pissed. Now everybody's beating up Star. But here's the deal with Star. Okay, sure, Star can remove the recovery center, but that's not actually going to make the contestants care that much, because the contestants have clocked one thing somehow. Okay, despite the fact that these contestants have about one brain cell between them, somehow this brain cell is actually really good, because it's like they've clocked one thing, which like Star doesn't clock, is that at the end of the day, you can go beat up Star if you don't have a recovery center. You know why? Because Star still needs you. Like, Star needs you to compete in their show, right? So if you're directly still beating them up and now there's no recovery center, they can't just do that, right? They can't murder you anymore because, like, otherwise you won't get to participate in the show. You know, and at the end of the day, that's what they want. They want you to participate in the show, which means that it's a very interesting like situation, right? Where it's like if you have the recovery center, you're just gonna kind of get beat up because of it, and if you don't have the recovery center, because then you can't kill people, because we noted that apparently Star has a very hard time actually reviving people, right? Which it's really interesting. But yeah, everybody ends up being super mad. Dime ends up doing a crash out or whatever. The world, for some reason, has died, right? And Star eventually ends up apologizing for them doing that. However, unfortunately, they still, I mean, don't think that like they're gonna. Well, they were gonna leave until Earth goes like, yo, you gotta recover our dead people because you destroyed the recovery center, right? We don't want to just have permanent casualties. Like, you did that, you fix it, okay? Which is interesting. Would I have done that? I mean, okay, yeah, sure. Like 7 people died. Well, you need to recover them at some point. Like this. I guess you do need Star for that. But anyway, Star tries after getting forced over by Earth. Then eventually we have Ice Cube, because Ice Cube gets called because somebody says the word cooler host. So Ice Cube comes in to host. They what is the prize? Their prize is nothing. Their prize is just yeah. So that makes sense. And then everybody goes over to the show. So then Star has to try to compete again with this. So if you notice, what's happening is currently the BFB thing, right? The BFB for the split thing, right? With Teapot, where they go, do you want to buy for this or for that? And it's like 2 comes in with a much better option. We literally have a lot of quotes that are literally said on the dot the same, right? But because the gag is that it's the same, so we're doing that. But eventually the price that they can get upgraded is an object point post hiatus, which is lost media, right? No, object point again post hiatus or whatever, which is lost media, right? It doesn't exist, which means that everybody wants it. And Ice Cube proceeds to not have anything else to fight back with. So after a lot of squabbling, Star has successfully managed to get a show. Let's go. And then they proceed to immediately start squeezing people out of existence again, which is great. But then we have ourselves the intro, the object, the 4-point intro. What do I think of the 4-point intro? I mean, of course, it's very BFB inspired. I actually like it quite a bit. I do think that the characters are a little bit too close to the screen. Like, they fill up nearly the entire screen at a time. But it's actually rather cool. I enjoy it. So that's 4 points. Then, with having the 45 contestants split up into 5 teams of 5 teams of 9 or 5 teams of 9. Okay, so this is what we're doing, and then the fellas go over to make the teams. All right, so anytime I cover object points or whatever the hell's going on, there's one thing that I think I should make absolutely 100% clear about when I watch this show in particular, right? It's that this show, I'm just gonna be 100% honest here. This show is not my type of humor, okay? Like, the things that I find funny do not tend to be the types of joke that this show make, right? These types of more cruder jokes, these types of more chaotic, just loudness things, right? Like, it's not what I find funny as much, right? This is the type of humor that a lot of people have, right? And therefore, that's why, however, when I am taking a look at a show like this, at a show like FourPoint, right? At a show like Object Point, I step aside, right, from the personal belief and just go, like, I'm not necessarily going to comment on the jokes too much because I know that they're not for me, right? They're not for me, but they're for somebody, right? Like, at the end of the day, it's that type of edginess that I don't really mind, but like, yeah. So that's why I analyze from afar what's going on. However, actually into the nitty gritties of what the hell the people are specifically saying or what the hell they're doing or everything, I don't really care, and I'm not really gonna mention that stuff too much because that's not my job to do. Somebody else should do that. There's nobody else making Object Catchup, but if somebody else was doing Object Catchup, then this would be their time to shine, right? To more properly comment on the jokes and stuff, right? So we end up having ourselves the teams after they end up forming it. Um, what happens? Oh yeah, there was a whole just movie fella, and then the red cube who were doing a thing. The other fellas end up being end up forming a team, but for some reason just call it a relationship. There's the palm tree that doesn't speak. Yeah, that's what's going on with them. There's the spoon fella who is hard to understand, but we can just barely understand it. There's also a triangle who speaks in text. Okay. Then there's the traffic cone and the blue gelatin who's together. Alongside Vortex and Bottle who have to be together. No, they don't have to be together. Vortex wants to be with them, but they don't. Those fellas end up mostly forming a team of their own. The neglected club, apparently. Then we end up having they end up grabbing the yellow team, and then they both join. And eventually, the red cube and the thing and the black pen end up going over to the smart cupcake. That's like the generic smart character. Softball is so tennis ball. Like they're just over exaggerated tennis ball. Same thing with like the orange bubble being like overly exaggerated bubble. This is a thing that a lot of characters are just an overly exaggerated formula. Yeah, everybody skips a step, boxing glove, and then the bubble takes them in. Then the dive comes in, and then there's a different spoon who's different than the original spoon. Um, then Star ends up forcing the teams to be formed. Let me see. Okay, then we end up having the challenge. Yes. So the challenge is, all right, everybody is in a room. It's actually a very fast challenge. How long does this challenge take? This challenge happens within the span of 3 minutes, no, of 4 minutes, or 3 to 4 minutes, which makes it a hilariously quick challenge. So, what the fuck? Oh, sorry. I stepped on a thing. Did you know that I do these standing up? I don't know. It's giving me more vibe to talk and do shit. You know, like da 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 da. But anyways, the challenge here of episode 1 ends up being name your team. A very average object show challenge. Why does everyone think this is a good idea? Can they stop? People stop thinking this is a good challenge idea. Please, I'm begging. But anyways, um, for this show, I guess it makes enough sense. However, the thing about this is that it's actually a spin on the idea because it's not name your team best name wins. It's actually name your team fast name wins. You literally just have to make a team name first. Get everybody to agree on a team name with you and you will be safe. It can be any team name as long as there's just an agreement, which is really interesting. What do I think? I think that it's okay to be honest, it's like it's not amazing challenge. Again, this challenge suffers from a thing which I don't really like. Which is the what the hell are people doing dilemma, right? Where it's like you can't show multiple people doing multiple things at the same time. Like, you can't show multiple teams doing a thing at the same time, right? That's kind of the thing. However, at the same time, if every team takes their turns, obviously starting off by being like, yo, we should be this, and then they say yes, right? And then like 6 teams do this, it's like, why did the 6 team to do it? What were they doing before, right? It's like that question that kind of annoys me, because it ends up making teams up like in danger even though they didn't really do anything. But yeah, in general, you'd be surprised at how little disagreements there actually were about which team to decide. Nearly everybody decides it. There's a lot of B&B references. I think we end up making Ions again, which is indeed a team. Then we end up having a different team. What do we have? Oh yeah, we have a team that does nothing. A team called the Great Amazing Yodelers, which is gay. Like, that's literally what it started to. I don't know why the G ends up is like completely broken, but it is. Where we go? Okay, should I actually analyze these teams? I haven't actually given the. Hold on, where is it? I don't. Uh, no, because I don't have fucking have the teams. There are no team image. Oh, whatever. Okay, hold on. So there's the SVP, which is just the initials of the characters. So that's a symbol, softball, uh, streetlight, vortex, and pearl. This team, no, I'm sorry, no, okay, I'm trying to think of it. I don't know enough about these characters. Okay, no, it's not that I don't know enough about these characters. Either these characters all act too similar to one another. Right, like on average, the amount of how much variance there is from character to character in this show is much less noticeable than the variance from character to character in a lot of other shows. Why? It's just because like the essence of the soul and of the show, sorry, um, is directly rooted in this way of speaking, in this way of being, in this way of talking, which means that if you place a character that doesn't speak in this style, right, it just kind of doesn't really work, you know? It doesn't really work, which means that basically nearly no character ends up acting that different to the others. So yeah, I join, then yeah, Team is okay. Hey, those 5, they're gonna be a unit, and they all listen to Palm Tree, even though they don't actually say anything. So, yeah. The newbies end up being a team. Is this team gonna be okay? They have Nito. I think Nito was pretty good at challenges, right? At least the other time. Then we have the bottles. However, they end up deciding to just be the B because we do the freaking uh the teapot thing, right, with the winners. Right, which is pretty interesting. Then we end up having the team. What is it? The Charlie Kirky? Okay, sure. I mean, hey, they agreed on it. And then the other team ended up just getting on without naming their team, and then the B already had their name. So then that means that everybody is safe, and then we can vote to eliminate. Okay. Those are the teams. What do I think of the teams? They're okay. I mean, hold on. Who was on the team? Charlie Kirky? No, that was like the smart one. The smart team, quote unquote, with like the cupcake and the TV and the microchip. I mean, I mean, having a smartass style character in a show like this is not really an avenue for success usually. Because usually the joke is that, oh, look at this character trying to be smart in a show that's all stupid. Right, and then it doesn't work. And then the 10 ball team is safe. Good job, 10 ball team. And then, yeah, the B ends up being safe. So that means that team without a name ends up being up for elimination. So this is the team with Pluggy the Mouse. These are the two that highly could disagree with each other because one of them is kind of a dumbass and the other one is kind of actually socially capable. Right. Then we have Spoonie, the metal one, different to the other one who can't speak. Sotapasine, which I literally do. I don't think they say. No, they say one line in the episode. And then there's this metallic circle thing, which no Disky, sorry. Ends up being up for elimination. Who gets out? My prediction is Disc because Disc truly doesn't do anything. I mean, like okay. You can debate that nearly everybody here doesn't do anything. I mean, I think you could say that the Charger and the Mouse, they do have an interaction that's worth remembering. However, the rest of them, you could debate that they do anything, but I think Disky truly doesn't do anything. So I would probably eliminate them. I'm not gonna. I am gonna be honest. Um, but yeah, we have a voice. I like love having the voice acting the image for the two people. So that is episode 2. What I think of this show? This show is interesting. I mean, like it's sort of it's. We'll have to see how challenges end up going in this style, right? Because we saw roughly how average interactions go between people in episode 1, right? Because at the end of the day, like object point again, they're so different to how this kind of looks that it's kind of a different situation. So we have to kind of see how a challenge actually plays out. Is it entertaining to watch? That's going to be the big question. Is it actually going to be entertaining to watch, or is it not going to be entertaining to watch? Because if it is going to be entertaining to watch, man, that'd be cool. Because it's going to be completely different to OPA, whatever it is. As far as what I've seen from episode 1 was fine. Honestly, episode 1 shows some decent potential. If the challenges end up being roughly kind of like with episode 1 with a purpose, I could see watching this show as not really a problem, right? Because like, look, watching stuff like the like object point ends up is kind of like, well. It kind of becomes a little bit complicated. And I mean, while this show does tend to have, again, it has a lot of the similar humor, it's sort of toned down so that it's not like that annoying, right? When it's like loudness isn't that loud, like usually it's like, it's, it ends up being more just compressed rather than loud, right? Which makes it just a nice overall viewing experience. And then overall just helps everything else, so really. So that is what I think here of this whole shebang. But in general, that is all I can realistically say about FourPoint. It's kind of difficult to talk too much about FourPoint because, like, in general, it's kind of it's not a joke object show, but it's like a joke object show, as in it's an object show with so many jokes because it starts off as a joke, right? It's not really trying to be a joke, I think, right now, but it kind of still has the essence of what is a joke show, therefore has to follow on from it, right? All right, let's take a look at the next thing. I've got no idea what it is, but let's hope for the best. Next up, we are going to be talking about BF4. Yep, so BF4. About a week ago, it was one of the more recent. It was one of the oldest videos that we're going to be taking a look at today. Released episode 11 of the series, which is titled Art Assassin. Just as a reminder, where we were the other time. Last time, the fellas ended up getting an encounter after using a magical beam or something from the Fun Gods. And then the Fun Gods and the contestant tried to show the challenge of have the most fun. Everybody fails, but Calculator's team, by just being especially annoying and causing pain to the Fun Gods, ends up putting their team up for elimination, which means that who is getting out? I have not a clue. But yeah, Calculator has had some lore added on to them about their parents and not like them being comedian and all that jazz. Let's see if episode 11 improves. Let's see if episode 11 let's just see what it does. I don't really know. The live action object show, currently the only one that we've ever looked at in Catchup. Let's see it. Let's talk about it. Art Assassin. Let's go. Alright, so that is episode 11 of BF4 Art Assassin. Should I get the elephant out of the room? Yes, I should get the elephant out of the room. The audio is still broken, mostly broken. I don't know what exactly is going on, but basically in just the way that the main audio is filmed, presumably when actually recording the scenes themselves, seems to be broken in the sense that like it only has it's like mono audio originally, which means that like when you put it in an editing software that's stereo, it ends up making it only play on one channel, which breaks the audio, right? You'll notice that as soon as any audio is recorded outside of the situation, right? Whether it's like, for example, the audio for the elimination, right? Like when we're actually talking about the elimination, like to vote, or any just pickup audio outside of the regular recording, it works perfectly fine as stereo audio because it's recorded outside of whatever the hell is recording the actual video itself, right? So basically, that's the thing. It's unfortunate because it's like really frustrating to hear on a computer. Like this is absolutely, I guess my recommendation for the show is that yeah, you can watch. You just have to watch it on a phone. Don't watch it on a computer. Watch it on a computer banned. It's it's kind of just weird thing to say. And it's sad because on a computer it's so easy to fix. Like I literally tested it. Yeah, no, you can just take the audio, download the video, put it in Audacity, export the audio again with no changes. Just instead click mono instead of stereo, and you'll have perfectly suitable audio. It's sad because it's a one-click thing on on a computer. I don't know how you do it on a phone, but like it's kind of it's an unfortunate situation. Okay, but let's ignore that here for a moment. So we end up having a couple of fellas. So Greenball has a toy, has a stretchy toy, which for some reason Domino wanted to play around with. I don't really, do I know why? I don't really know why, but they felt like playing around with the stretchy toy. Until the human drops by and goes like, "Yo, what the hell y'all doing?" But a little bit nicer because the human's pretty nice. Um, and then they end up driving like, "Yo, I want my toy back." It's like, yeah, just give the toy back, bro. So, yep, they do indeed do that. Domino ends up facing the wrath of the human, aka I love the human's so weird. Okay, because like the thing about the human, right, is that this is very interesting character because they don't like we don't actively like every object doesn't want to bother the human. Doesn't really. It doesn't. It's like kind of not necessarily scared of the human, but kind of just doesn't want to be around too much. Which is interesting because like it's the human is so fine. It's like the chillest guy ever seen. You know, like there's enough. I've not seen this bro raise their voice half a time. You know, but every object's chilling like ooh ooh. I mean, it makes sense in terms of like an owner dynamic, right? It's kind of like yo, this bro is the house. If we upset them, then they're gonna literally throw us into a dumpster and we're gonna die. So I mean, I understand it, but like, it's still what, it's kind of weird. But anyways, then Screwdriver comes in to talk to the koala. About their evil plans because they're like, yo, I'm just trying to see who made the white portal, and then we end up being like, yo, ask the human about it, and then it's like, yo, I should do that now. I should do that. These two also form a pretty interesting dynamic of their own because what do these two do? Um, these two are a very different way of thinking about things, right? Because Screwdriver, at the end of the day, wants to solve shit, right? But they try to solve shit using their mind, right? Like they try to use the knowledge to piece together a solution, and they're pretty smart. However, at the end of the day, they just don't have all of the information in the world, right? So this becomes a little bit more complicated for them. However, Koala is directly an information acquirer, right? Like this guy just goes like the idea for him is if we don't know a thing, ask somebody who knows, right? If you don't know if the guy made the white portal, let's go and ask him. If you think the human might have an idea of the white portal, go ask the human, right? And it's like it's an interesting thing because for Screwdriver, these are not even ideas. It's like for Screwdriver, everything that they do, they have to solve themselves. They don't realize that they can just ask somebody a thing, right? But then Koala ends up being like, yo, you can just ask. And then it's like, oh. So they make a very powerful and interesting duo here. Which is rather fun. And then in the meanwhile, we end up having the elimination. Who gets out of the elimination with an unknown amount of votes? The pen ends up getting out of the elimination. Poor guy. Yet again, eliminations in this show have kind of been glossed over by a major quantity. I don't remember what the pen did. To be fair, they barely did anything, like ever. But they end up crashing out for some reason as a dog who makes the freaking the fun boys stay because the fun gods stay, which it's like the most correlated situation. Oh, it's your fault because we lost the challenge because the fun gods hated us because we failed the fun gods because the fun gods arrived because you kept them around. it's like five because to actually reach the part that's technically influenced by that guy. But anyways, goodbye, Pan. You end up being deleted. And then Sketchy appears. Sketchy. Ooh. Okay, so Sketchy is a character who happens to exist. Pen gets absolutely erased by them, which is, I guess, pretty fun. They end up and enjoying them. So, like, they end up hosting the challenge. The green guy ends up just going like, "Yo, you can host it for this episode," which is pretty epic. And then Sketchy ends up going, "Your challenge is to survive me. The team with the most aligned members by sunrise will win, and the other will be up for extermination," which is pretty cool. Honestly, okay. Out of all the shows, I was expecting to have an animatic in it. I wasn't expecting this one. I'm not gonna lie. Out of all shows, I say, yo, which show would have a random cameo by a character who just so happens to act exactly like animatic? And I would not tell you this. This show was not what I was expecting to do this, but it does do this. And you know, it's cool. I must say, like, okay, at the end of the day, it's a little bit complicated, because of the whole shebang with like the fact that it's IRL, but that makes it pretty impressive, right? The capabilities of having the characters directly interact with the sketch. Like, we need to have it in mind already when we're filming, which is one of those things that's kind of difficult to do in IRL. I mean, a lot of the time when we're recording, like when people record IRL stuff, right, IRL shows, you need to think about with the post production in mind already. However, it is kind of difficult to do, right? Like it's very non-natural. It's a very non-natural thing. So actually recording an episode with the presumption, okay, Sketchy's gonna be here and they're gonna do this and then it's gonna like it's that type of thing where it's like it's not as easy as you think of that stuff. So I think it's pretty impressive. But I mean, yeah. Then we end up asking the human, yo, who made the white portal? So apparently the wait, who? There was this one guy in the house that was all crazy about making stuff. Whose name was Mori. Wait, Lori or Mori? Mori. The name was Mori. So apparently they made all of that stuff, and then they don't know much about the start of the house because they don't really give a shit. So they end up dipping. So the human goes like, I don't really know, but Mori made a bunch of shit, so they presumably made that. And they invented light switches. Apparently, what they invented light? What did you do? They invented light switches. Now, who the hell is Mori? I don't know. I'm trying to clock if this is a person or an object. I think it's an object. I think Mori is an object because, like, first of all, they end up being the first people in the house. Like, the human disregards them as they do with the objects. Like, I don't really care. I don't know why y'all are doing that much, right? So the human that treats it. So therefore, Mori presumably might also be an object. And also, the human is just called human. And if Mori was also a human, it'd be weird. Why does this one get name privileges and the other one is just the human? Right. So my presumption is that Mori is an object. Where the hell are they? I don't know, but they might have moved out, I guess. So that'll be interesting. Are we gonna get to see them take a walk? Are we gonna see Screwdriver take a walk outside? Don't do that, please. It's gonna be it's not. I mean, it would look good on a video. It would be the most cringe thing to record, like outside in the public. But eventually, Calculator dies to the sketchy fella. The sketchy fella is murdering everybody. It's just murder. We just kind of end up doing murder. There's, to be fair, like, okay, so the thing about Animated Battle 2 is that it's pretty cool, but there's more than a total of 2 teams. Right, in this we end up doing that, but we end up doing like it's Caffeination Day, but except there's only 2 teams, and none of them were smart. So then they just end up murdering everybody. I like a Rubik's Cube dying. They end up having like the sounds of the Rubik's Cube twisting and stuff. That's kind of fun. But yeah, they end up dying. Ball ends up going, no, I'm not going to throw you down. I'm not going to throw the rope down to you. And then has a monologue. Sketchy by this time, if they wanted to, could have probably murdered the both of them. Let's go. However, Sketchy is nice. They will wait for the monologue to finish. And then they will... Right, so that's cool. And then they end up they end up murdering the ruler, which means that it ends the challenge in record speed. It isn't even morning. Apologies. Sketchy thought that these people were gonna be even the remotest bit good, but they're actually terrible. They're all just like, yo, let's hide together. Yo, let's hide together in the same spot, not even that far away from where we spawned, as if that's a good idea for a thing for us to do. And it's like, bruh. Bruh. Right. So, these fellas up for elimination. Okay, so one thing I've learned is that this show, I don't think has enough total votes to really have voting by to really for me to really be able to predict elimination by anything, right? Like elimination by meanness is a thing that starts to apply after you reach a certain threshold of votes, right? After you start reaching a certain threshold of general audience, quote unquote, then you start voting by which character is mean or which character, right, ends up doing the bad things, right? However, I think at this rate of the show, right, which is very small, it doesn't get many votes, right? I think we got 5 votes this time. Um, it's that like it ends up that it just kind of depends on who the people who are watching the show feel. And the people who watch the show currently want the best for the show, right? So the people that want the best for the show end up kind of, not voting out the people who probably should get out. But then it's like, in the last challenge, like, okay, let's be absolutely for real. In the last challenge, Calculator should have gotten eliminated. By just objective performance, Calculator should have been eliminated. And if you give 100 of the viewers the the opportunity in the voting screen, in my opinion, no chance about it, I think a Calculator gets eliminated. However, at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like, in this case, we want, like, the people who are watching the show want the health of the show, right? It's one of the important details about it, right? The health of the show is important, which means that, like, we end up having mostly voting for more irrelevant characters rather than characters that actively deserve to get out. Who gets out here? I don't really know. Again, like, Mitri? Who is Mitri? 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 Am I dumb? Who is Mitri? What? Wait. Uh, is that the? No, that's in the other. Wait. Mitri. Am I dumb? Do I not? Am I dumb? I think I'm dumb. I think I'm dumb because I don't know who Mitri is. Whatever. But anyway, you see, this is why you need icons. Please make voting icons. I beg of you. I beg of the show to make a voting. It's not that hard. Just take a picture. So really, no. Take a picture, make it square, and then voting icon. Like, it's not. Please. It's such a useful thing. But yeah. Anyways, eventually in the post credit scene, we go like, yo, let's go meet Mori, which they're gonna end up doing, which is interesting. I mean, they consider this idea. I don't know if it's a good idea because, okay, Mori doesn't live in the house anymore. It was one of the first people in the house, but that means they're not in the house anymore, which means that they're theoretically somewhere else. So, if Mori is in the house, that's bullshit and not facts. But like, I guess it's something. Maybe it'll be at a different house. Maybe you can Google on the computer where the hell is Mori. Mori's like, oh yeah, Mori's just over there, not in the bedroom. It's like, bro. like, where would Mori be? I don't know, but it's apparently there, right? So there we go. That's the state of BF4. It's interesting, it's doing a slow burn. As said, it's like it's all right. It's building itself up very slowly, right? It's like it's that degree of slowly where it's like at a certain point, I'm starting to get worried that things are happening a bit too slowly for the pace in which the cast is we're getting eliminated. Like maybe we got to work a bit faster. Like, at the end of the day, one of the things, I'm just saying, one of the powers that you don't necessarily have to spend months and months animating an episode. So maybe, just maybe, I would consider bumping up the average length of episode to include some additional details that would have instead been 2 episodes, right? Because currently we might be going a bit too slow because the cast is kind of starting to dwindle down, right? But like, the plot is advancing at it's kind of crawling because we start a plot, pause it because we want to start a different plot, and then we pause that. Then we're like only 25% through each plot, right? So then it's kind of complicated. But yeah, all right, that's what I can really say about BF4 right now. Art Assassin, art to go to the next section. Alright, now for the rest of the new releases, these ones are going to be a little bit shorter. However, we're going to start off here. We're going to go in order of when they release here from now on, okay? There's not going to be much order. We're going to start off with the releases from Digital Clocks Media, or DCM. They made Stillwater. However, they've also done two other things ever since, that which are different shows, which for the meantime, I will watch, alright? Starting off here with The Humbled, which has had one episode release so far, the Big Bang of 2025. I think this is a show that exists, so I'm just gonna watch it. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna see what the hell this is. I'll be honest, I have no idea. But yeah, the Big Bang of 2025. Let's watch it. Let's talk about it. Let's do that stuff. Okay, so that is the Humbled episode 1. So what do I think of this? Well, okay, we could chat about what is happening, but to be honest, I don't know, and I don't think anybody does. But you know what I am gonna chat about? I'm gonna chat about joke object shows, okay? Because joke object shows are interesting because, like, they end up, like, one thing I've noticed is that, for example, this show, which also seems to be a roughly collaging of what multiple people were like, yo, let's do these scenes, this scene and that scene, right? And then it ends up as like a joke object show, depending on how many people are directly involved in the writing and creating process of a joke object show, you are directly increasing by a significant margin the amount of jokes per scene that happen. You want to know why? Because when you make a show with jokes on it, at the end of the day, you have to come up with the jokes. And at the end of the day, you have a finite amount of jokes, which means that you end up spreading them out across the episode, right? That makes sense, right? However, when multiple people are working on the object show, right, and then they have a bunch of scenes, they have the same amount of jokes in their mind. However, they now need to spread them out across their scenes. However, they have way less scenes per person, which means that overall, you just end up having a nearly overflow of just how many jokes end up being, because each person places in their own things within their own time allotments. However, there's just so much going on, right? In total, whether one person does it, five people, which is the amount of people that work on this, like, that's 5 times the amount of possible gags that actually occur, which I think makes it interesting. And that's why I think a show like this ends up being so unbelievably chaotically gag filled, right? Because even for the rhetoric of a joke object show, this is fast, right? And like, this is like that is interesting, right? And I think it's because of this. For example, right? You know, DIBS, which we took a look at a while ago. DIBS is interesting as well because, like, it does scene by scene, person by person, and it's because every single, and it ends up having way more of these, way more gags and way more jokes, because it is directly spread out across people who want to pursue their own visions, and of course they want to do gags because at the end of the day, DIBS is supposed to, it has a story to it, but like, it's still trying to be overall a fun little goofy show, right? So that show also has that same type of situation going on, where it ends up having more gags and more jokes and more chaos than usual because of this multiple people working process, which I think is, it's an interesting situation, right? Basically, if you want to have a joke object show with a lot of people, with a lot of jokes, pure chaos, get multiple people's work on it. You can get multiple people to work on it, then that means that you will have an amplified setting of jokes, and it's just gonna be pure stuff. If it curious what happens on this show, basically, they end up yapping a little bit. A couple of people died. A freaking censorship logo ends up dying or something. Then everybody else ends up dying because of gravity gun being like, someone say Fortnite, and then everybody died. And then Fry's fella is like, okay, I can bring everybody back, but I'll only bring everybody back if you end up competing, if you make everybody compete in the show. And I mean, they just go like, okay, I mean, I want you to bring everybody back, right? So it's fine. So they end up doing that. Then they end up going in for the prize, which is a Fry's plush. So a Fry's plush ends up being the prize, and then we end up with the challenge. Challenge die. The challenges die. They freaking die. The team try to figure out a way to die for a little bit until a card with I think magic in it ends up just kind of yeeting themselves at one of the teams, which means that they all die because they get run over, which means that the other team, which doesn't have a name by the way, ends up getting out. So the people up for elimination are Pregnancy Test, Dancing Banana, Power Outlet, Vine Boom Sound Effects, and Chess. Who should get out? I don't know. I like, honestly, a lot of these characters. I would probably eliminate Dancing Banana, but I like it. The Vine Boom Sound Effects being like the spectrogram is really fun. Pregnancy Test, I mean, it's weird. But I guess it's fine. And the power outlet having the actual sockets themselves as the eyes is very creative. I should really like that. But so like, yeah, it's interesting how there's like actually interesting character designs going on here. Like Gravity Gun at the end of the day, it's an interesting character design. I don't know, I've seen it in a show. Like how would a portal gun act as a character if they actually have the portals available to yo, somebody do that. Somebody add a portal gun right now. To an obvious show. All right, that's the Humbug. Yeah, as you can see, I really had nothing to say about it, so we talked about something else. Let's talk about the other show from Digital Clocks Media. Ref Warrior seems to be taking place over Christmas. It had one episode 3 years ago, and then it had episode 2, 3, and 4 released in each of the following days. So let's watch it, let's keep up with it, and then maybe, of course, in the future, we can properly wrap ourselves up. Starting with the 3-year-old episode, they're all really short, by the way. Starting with the 3-year-old episode, The Christmas Sandwich. Let's go. Alright, so this is Wreath Warriors episode 1. Do you want me to say the meanest possible thing I could say? This is what if a kid tried to make a chaotic object show by going like, how do I get this pacing to be super fast? Well, let's cut off every sentence right it's about to end, so that way it looks like I'm going super fast, and I'm not just cutting it off for no absolute reason. Yippee! Nah, but to be nicer, it's okay. We end up having a couple of characters chat. So Hanger's the host. Then we end up having okay, who the hell are these characters? I generally cannot. I think it's like gift bag, a Christmas tree, a wreath, like a light, a Christmas ornament, and then the Hanger who's the host, who looks like a double-sided sock. I'm not. It's yeah, I mean, this is definitely one of the casts of all time. It's interesting. You know what I find interesting about this is that this plays as 7 videos. The fact that this plays as 7 videos is interesting. Did this mean that this originally had multiple episodes and then got taken down, or that the episodes 5 through 7 already exist of the show and they're just waiting to get released? I don't know, but we're gonna have to find out. Let's go to the modern era. Let's see how the show improves. In episode 2, released a couple of days ago, I'm jigging get. All right, episode 2, the big old comeback episode. So we have new assets for everybody. Now they actually look like characters that exist. They're much better. We have Kando, who has a BFTDI asset, who's a new character. The challenge ends up being to do a little jingle, a jingle bells. And everybody does it except for Kando, who, of course, has their BFDI asset, so they can't exactly move because they're a PNG. But they get eliminated. Goodbye, Kando. That means that the amount of characters left in the show as of episode 2 is the same as the amount of characters left in the show after episode 1. We love shows that have progression from episode to episode. But in general, I mean, you can just immediately tell that, like, the improvement is obviously there. I mean, like, it's just that little bit of additional effort that's probably not even considered additional effort to make a quick design for Wreath. Anyways, it's like it ends up working and improving it, and at the end of the day, it shows off improvement, even if it's of course a super small little thing. Why are there random white lines over the tree? What is that supposed to be? It looks like a spider web. Let's go to episode 3, titled let's go to episode 3, titled Kiss Me on My Hot Mouth. I'm feeling romantical, with an emoji that doesn't load. That is the name of the video. Okay, then, let's go. Okay, that is episode 3. A couple of quick notes. I didn't point this out in the last episode, but to be fair, the intro detail of having the the outline of the hanger, and then every time it switches back the hanger in that same spot in the reverse color, so that it's actually the show, is very smart. I actually like that. And secondly, what the fuck did I just look at? So the challenge is kiss under the mistletoe. But great voice acting on you, being a little cutie. However, yes, there's 2 couples in the show. Apparently, according to the show right now, one of them is the friggin' ornament and then present. So they end up doing it. We know the other ones are like, yo, we're not that weird, right? So then they end up not being that weird. But eventually, of course, since they don't do the challenge, they end up getting voted out. So Christmas tree says bye bye, bye bye. All right, so that is the romantic episode. It was truly, it was true, such romance. All right, let's go to the next episode, which is what the hell is it called? The fourth episode is also the longest. The episodes are, to be fair, they are gradually getting longer from 2 to 4 right now. So hey, maybe by episode 7 or the finale, we're gonna have a big 8-minute episode. No, I'm hoping too much. Let's go to episode 4, tickling the pickle. Yay! All right, that is episode 4, tickling the pickling the pick. And then we end up having ourselves the new challenge, which ends up being, because we're actually having a final 2. So the winner of this challenge gets to pick who makes it with them to the finale, which is apparently the finale. So there's only 5 episodes, which is interesting because why are there 3 videos hidden? This playlist is suspicious. But anyways, yeah, the challenge is to get a pickle, which means that literally the light has to find it, because the other 2, of course, are the couple, which means that they're gonna pick each other if they win. They don't actually manage to get it first. However, because the ornament ends up finding it, bro yeets themselves in this epic death moment. Epic death moment. Oh my god. Ends up dying, shattering it all pieces. Pow, pow, pow. And then the pickle ends up being given to the hanger, who's like, good job. So then they get to pick who else gets to go with them. So they end up picking Ornament, because they tried their best. They nearly got the pickle there. And they also were and to be fair, in the last challenge, they were the one who actively tried to do it. Right, they were the one who brought Present over to do the mistletoe. Right. So to be fair, yes, they have actually been the one to have been trying. So they're the one who probably realistically deserved it. Which is why this guy should definitely not have picked, should have eliminated them, right? Because of course, what is more strategical than, would you rather eliminate the person you find good or the person you find bad? Of course, eliminate the person you find bad. That way you have stronger competition in the finale. What the hell? I'm judging the Christmas show too harshly, okay? I'm not in the jolly spirit. I gotta start singing Jingle Bell. Jingle Bell, Jingle Bell, Jingle all the way. I'm gonna sing till I stop singing, which is right now. Next segment. Hey! Alright, the next show that we're going to be keeping up with is the big old BFTDI, which we keep up with on a very consistent basis. However, it's actually had 3 new episodes since last week when we looked at it. As a reminder, in the last challenge, we ended up having a drawing challenge where we have to rate it. However, then the grape Fago ended up simply destroying one of the other drawings, meaning that the sunflower gets eliminated. Everybody is starting to get worried. Grape Fago is genuinely a menace. Well, let's see if they can get her out in these next episodes, starting off with episode 5, The Harder You Fall. Let's go. Alright, that is episode 5, where we actually start wondering, for the first time, a character wondering, are we fighting for BBL Drizzy, which is what BFBD even stands for? The answer is, I don't know, but the Lava Lamp believes it. I don't know if the other winner ever even got to it, so I don't know. But in the meanwhile, Great Fago ends up knocking down the other stack, Penny stack, to make them fall down, which means that Penny ends up falling down. To be fair to Great Vega, right, the one thing about them is that they have been managing to play pretty fast. I mean, they've knocked down the stack, and then they straight on back onto their stack before Penny could actually get on. Because one of those things where, for example, if you actually notice, I mean, like, the stack from Penny got divided in half, but you see, it's still 2 blocks high, which means if Penny had just managed to quickly shimmy up, then that would have been still better than the Great Vega. However, in this case, unfortunately, it was not the way to be. I mean, one of their legs apparently really hurts, which is not great. But oh well, they end up being eliminated. So the lava lamp, Penny, Ultra friendship ends up being gone, and also being gone is the Cool Crayon and Great Vago friendship. Because Cool Crayon's like, that's Naku. I mean, they don't say that, but they should say that. Let's be honest. They say, I wasn't your friend anyways. All I did was do the 6-7 with you in episode 2, and that's about it. That is the extent of their friendship. They have done no other thing. That's why this type of arcs is really funny. It's like, no, we were friends. It's like, what? We like talked one time. You know, like it's not. It wasn't. It wasn't a great overarching narrative of a friendship. It was just like, yo, yeah, yo, we should do the meme. Oh, yes, we should do the meme. And I mean, okay, I guess it's not that deep. But all right, Great Vago keeps going. Penny is out. Who is going to miss out on the finale? We're going to have to find out. That means that, of course, the finale is already known. Episode 6, Broken Promises. Let's go. You know, I just read the description of this video. Why hasn't Takoyaki debuted? We need a little bit of Takoyaki, just complete bullshit, raw energy to get this show out of the depression lounge that is currently in. Oh my god, bro, the vibe here has completely changed from BFTDI. But okay, so Cool Crayon is sad because I was friends with Great Vaco for a very long time, we knew each other since the first moment we started existing, which was like BFTDI. So, I mean, of course, they exist before. These are recommended characters. I don't know. Are they Are these characters that exist? Is this like a recommender canon where these two were a thing? I don't know, but I guess. Anyways, they end up being like, yo, do you want to team up? And then Great Vago eventually comes in and has a chat with Cool Crayon. Yo, if you help me in the next challenge, I'll forgive you. So think about the good old days. You're nothing without me or whatever. But do. And then they have the epic challenge, which is to knock off. It's a balance beam challenge. It's technically not a balance beam. It's a circle. Right, it's King of the Hill. It's King of the Hill. First person to get knocked off the rotating. The circle platform ends up getting eliminated. So we then have to wonder which side is Cool Crayon gonna be on. Cool Crayon decides to go after Lava Lamp. However, unfortunately, Lava Lamp at the last second manages to yeet off Cool Crayon. Cool Crayon wants Great Vago to help them up. However, Great Vago doesn't care that. Yeah, doesn't knock him off. Whatever the fuck. So now Cool Crowd is super sad. Lava Lamp has like the sweetest sweet voice I think I've ever seen, because they have this like mildly like how do I say this, like a full voice, like have a voice kind of like this. It's a little bit less extreme, where it's like, oh, I'm so. It's not this stupid. I promise it's good. It's like, I'm sorry I hurt you. Are you okay? Are you okay? I'm super sorry. Right? Like it's like Spongy but toned down. It's like it's cute. I like it. And Lava Lamp as a design is also cool in the way that, of course, it's a constantly moving design, right, with the actual Lava Lamp itself. So I really like it. As far as the final two, I mean, this is the type of final two. Okay, this, in my opinion, is probably debatably in contention for the best final two in terms of just design of the characters. I would have probably put Epic Yarn up there. I'm not gonna lie. Epic Yarn was a sick ass design that got eliminated way too soon. They should have had an opportunity to at least show off themselves. Like, they should have gotten further. Come on, like they were so unique, but instead they got out immediately. But I mean, again, somebody has to get out first. We're like, bro. So that's kind of the thing. However, in terms of other designs, I think Great Vago and Lava Lamp are definitely the best couple of designs. And yeah, it's time for the big old finale, the big finale that just so happens to be a smaller episode than the last one. It comes from the heart, episode 7, finale. Let's go. I don't know. I'm going insane. BFBD2 has got the adrenaline flowing. Let's go. Alright, so that is the finale of BFBD2. It comes from the heart, which, by the way, fire name for a finale. More finales should use that name, because that's just a good name for just like a finale. It's like, yeah, it's like that punchy proper. It's like a proper name. It feels ultimatum, right? where we end up having ourselves the finale get set up. So the finale is to get a Christmas present, of course, because it's nearly Christmas time. And they end up going over to do that. However, big problem has arisen. You know what the big problem is? Is that no, it's not the fact that they're literally in a void and there's nothing there. How do they get things? How do they get things? There is legitimately nothing there in the world. It's just not a thing. Like I don't know where the hell it's cause like why, but I don't know. So they end up doing their whole shebang, right? And then while they do that, they end up being like, "Yo, aren't we cook? We don't know anything about tariffs." It's like, "Yo, you would know something about tariffs if you actually cared about other people." Uh, yes, I guess, kind of. I mean, it's like, okay, well, we're preemptively deciding that here we have a prior knowledge of Angry Birds, right? To like know what Terrence is, right? Because like directly speaking, we've never actually heard Lava Lamb speak to Terrence. Like, yo, what do you like do? I don't know. But Terrence ends up enjoying the sing shot, of course, because it's like, Terrence like what was Terrence in Angry Birds? Like the old bird who is now retired, is like the legend or whatever, now fat and stuff. Right. But yeah, they end up winning. At the end of it, going like, "Oh, I did for nothing." Da, 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 da. But then it's like, "Yo, it pays to be nice. You should go do an apology." So then they go over to Cool Crayon that had just been sitting there. Wait, did the other character just sit there? They just go. They're literally just sitting there in the white void, doing nothing the entire time, and that's like the elimination. They just go like, "Yep, I am sitting here in the void, doing nothing but sitting in the void." It's like, what is that? What actually what they're doing? Because that's like that's really funny. But all right, that is BFBD2. What I think of BFBD2, BFBD2 is it was a pretty solid season. I must say it had its own plot line going on. It wanted to dare a little bit more, but still kept its overall scale very, much more relaxed than the usual. It doesn't go nuclear with it. BFBD3 might be happening, which of course makes for the interesting question of what will happen if we end up having a BFBD3. Well, we will have to find out. However, we can recommend the character. Last time I recommended Hack Jarlo and it didn't work. And I'm gonna recommend Hack Jarlo again. You ain't stopping me. I am Hack Jarlo, inverted image of Jack Harlow, is making it to the big leagues. Okay, I'm telling you, bro, this guy has to make it. Okay, Hank Jarlow is too important to not make it into the big leagues. Okay, it's too cool. Okay, hear me out. All right, you're not gonna be able to see it, but I'm currently adding legs, so then that was the problem. It needs to be a proper asseted character, right? Otherwise, it won't appear. So I'm giving them a goofy little arm. I can't draw for shit. I'm with a mouse, but pretend that this all makes sense, right? They get little arms. I'm gonna add hacker background. Okay, hacker background. All right, give me a hacker background. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna place it over. No, sorry. I'm gonna take this hacker background. All right, imagine an inverted image of Jack Harlow with a hacker background. Okay, and I'm gonna take this hacker background. All right, and uh I'm gonna freaking remove the portions of it that we don't need. Okay, so that it ends up making good frame here on the hatch Jarlo, and then we end up putting it at a really really low, really super low opacity, right? Because it's like Jack Harlow, Hack Jarlo, and it's like a reversed fella. Okay, and then boom, we have got ourselves the magic of the one and only Hack Jarlo. This is fire. Okay, I will go submit that. In the meanwhile, BFBD2 was pretty cool. Haha, that rhymed. Let's go to the next thing. Let's go. All right, next up, we are going to be taking a look at the Object Show sequel that is filler. It has had 2 episodes released since last time we looked at it. Last time we looked at it, we looked at episode 1, which I just released. The sequel to Universe 2, Season 2, which is the Object Show sequel that's filler. We get to discover the characters, they get to chat a little bit. We have teams for one for the first time, team name.txt and the lovely lotions. And then at the end of it, I think team text dot txt ends up being up for elimination with subcolor paper whoopee cushion plus that has shoe sock and thing. Let's see who's gonna get out in episode 2. Why don't they just run? Alright, so that is episode 2 of the Object So sequel. That is filler. So we end up having an episode that's quite a bit longer than the last one. Soap has a broken foot from the other challenge, which was the whole throw and catch the key thing. And then we have ourselves the elimination, where this said Soap also ends up getting out with 1 more vote, with 4 votes, which is not that many votes, actually, which means that they were split up pretty decently. I mean, 16 and getting eliminated with 4, like, is a pretty low percentage. But, yeah, the episode's quite a bit longer than the other one, which I swear, is this a thing I said? I didn't say this, right? No, I did. No. I don't know. What did I say? Because I swear, I remember there was one show I said, yo, if we take those extra 2 minutes, it'd be better. But I don't think it was this one. Or maybe it was. I don't know. I have this vague memory of saying that to a show. I take a look at too many shows now. Okay, I'm sorry. But, this is episode 2. Soap gets out. I don't remember who I predicted either, but I don't think it was Soap. I think it was, Robot, the goofy head. And then we have ourselves the new challenge. It's dodgeball, kind of, except it's dodgeball without the dodging. It's dodgeball without the catching, sorry. Get hit by a cone, by one of these gym cones, and then you will be out. And then we have ourselves the challenge. What do we think of this challenge? This challenge is okay. It's fine. It's very similar to the last challenge, which means it has very similar problems in the sense that this show doesn't have a lot of perspective to it, right? Like, it's like this show doesn't have. Okay, this show is lacking 2 things, right? Which make a run and gun based challenge complicated. This show is missing fluid animation, and the show is missing perspectives often, right? There was like one time a question where we showed a different perspective, but on average it's roughly the same camera angle but for different people, right? Which makes this type of challenge, right, these types of run and gun right, type challenges, right, where like you're running away from shit and you're dodging and everything, it just makes them not the best type of challenge for the current situation, right? It's just not the best type of challenge, which is unfortunate because I mean, of course, they are some of the more action-based challenges, but it just kind of ends up being a little bit weird because you're always getting hit by something off screen. It'll roughly look the same. You won't be able to predict it as a viewer, right? It's kind of you know. Type of thing. And it's, I know that it's one of those things that, what, are you disencouraging slideshow-based object shows to do action? Well, no, I'm just saying don't do it all the time, because certainly we're at 100% ratio of doing it. And also, I'm saying that, like, if you're a slideshow-based object show, you should own up to it and find out a way that complements the style, right? But either way, at the end of the challenge, the contestant that didn't do much did a thing. Question yet again has no idea. Question is really interesting. They have no idea how to throw a thing. They just like all of the problems of the world are within this question. They just need to be capable. They just need to be told the answer, right? They'll figure out how to do a thing. They just need to be told how to do it. But they can do anything. Like, how do I build a nuclear reactor? And then you just say, yo, you do this and you do that, and boom, they build a nuclear reactor. Like, this is how they roll, which is kind of interesting. Kind of makes for an interesting character. And then eventually the lovely lotions are up for elimination. Who's getting out? I have no idea. Rubbish shits out, so I think they should be safe. Bandana is from the last season, but I think the whole not a ridicule thing should keep them around. Question is amazing, and if Question gets out, I will be suing everybody who voted. Then we got Pickle and Ephemeral. Which one of these gets out? The one who does the least is probably Pie. And you know what? I would eliminate Pi because Pi is not a very original character design. I mean, and Anos and Bib. It's they don't do much, which they absolutely should. You're an algebraian, like go do algebraian things, Magi. Right? I'm gonna say you don't do shit, so you're wasting potential, right? So that's all good. And then in general, the other two, at least they don't have screen time on purpose, right? No, and like they mentioned, they don't have screen time. Python, they mentioned they don't have screen time. I think Pi should go in my personal view of it because even though they could be interesting, they're not. They could be, but they're currently not. So yeah, I would eliminate Pi, but I don't really know. Let's go to episode 3, which is of course the latest episode of Toss Thief, which is titled "The Toss Tip with 2S Tossing Tips." And they never returned. Oh no. And that is episode 3, the object show sequel that is filler. So we have ourselves Pi be like, yo, isn't our team bad? We are the only ones who did anything. We did one throw and then got hit and then didn't do anything. Come on, Pi, shut up. You're the one who's talking. You have the least screen time combined between the team. But anyways, elimination. Question, he doesn't know where we are, but to be fair, so does nobody. We end up having 15 votes, which is less than the other time. Are there more than 15 recommended characters? Because I swear there are. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. How are there more recommended characters than votes? Nah, bro. Yeah, we gotta do a recommended cat. We gotta connect. We gotta link the two, bro. We gotta link the two. We gotta do like a one and done. You gotta do like a both. Like, yo, do you want to recommend the characters or like this link to the voting form? Nah, that's crazy. But anyways, the eliminated contestant ends up being rubbish because they are rubbish and they don't do the challenge and they have 4 votes. And it's funny to say that the rubbish character is rubbish. What, bro? Bruh moment. That's kind of a cringe elimination. They literally didn't do anything. Have some pity, bro. But okay, fine. The voters didn't like rubbish. That's kind of a bad elimination in my opinion. I don't know why the viewers would do that. Because like, come on, like they didn't. It's not their fault that they sit out. Like if they were like, I'm gonna sit out of the challenge. Okay, sure. If they say, hey, if they suggested the idea that they have one extra member, is that yeah, but like then it's not their fault. They didn't do anything. It was just Logie who said that. Like, bro, whatever. Anyways, the next challenge, get to milk. Logie ends up going in Do Not Disturb mode, which is purple. Is it? Isn't that streamer mode? Whatever. Anyways, they end up having the challenge, which is to get to the milk. Dun dun dun. So now we have the first team. The text team ends up having no, sorry. Wait, the lotions team ends up going like, yo, we should order milk, which that's a good idea. And it's like, no, let's not do that. Let's go to the store. Fine, I guess I'll let them go to the store. Because, of course, why can't the team do 2 things? No, genuine question. Why can't they just do both? As soon as you're like, yo, going to the milk store isn't a good idea, just order the milk anyway. Like, either they arrive back with the milk or the milk arrives to you. Like, one of the two is gonna happen. Are we worried about money here? Are we worried about the cash flow? Y'all have cash, y'all have jobs, y'all have money, y'all have society. Y'all have society. That's like a great question. Do we have society? Because apparently there's a store now. The store that only sells cow boxes. I have no idea who this guy is, this sales vendor, but whoever they are, they only sell cow boxes at the store. It's one of the few locations that we know exists in this grassland plain. We know that there's like from Universe 1, there's a giant hill and there's a store that sells cow boxes. Now this is society. Now, I mean, yeah, I absolutely think this is one of the things that the show should absolutely work to improve on. Because I understand that at the end of the day, it is mildly filler, I guess. That's the name of it. It's filler. It's not supposed to have that much effort put into it. But, like, this show could really use some variety and location. It could really use some challenges where you have to go places, so that way they get to at least be in different environments, right, and do things in different environments. Because it could definitely use it. Because currently you start to feel it, right? You start to feel it. I remember the other time I said, like, hey, this season we need to find a way for ourselves to improve from the previous season. Otherwise, it gets stale. Especially because not only is this season 2, this is also season 8 if you count the other ones, right? So it's like, so it's a whole shebang, and like adding additional locations to basically building a world. If you can build a world where it's like these are the places that exist, and then eventually during challenges we can call to these places, right? It's useful. I don't know if this is again. I don't make all this shit, but this feels like a pretty functional tactic to me. You know, like build a word. With imagine what does this? Where are they? How? What is around? And that way, during the challenges, we can properly call back to what is around, so that we can use it as props for the episodes. Right? It's useful rather than just being in a grassland the entire time, right? Because imagine like, oh hey, there is this bridge here, right? Okay, let's imagine that there's a bridge. Okay, then for example, in a challenge where we're throwing dodgeball, right? Then boom, this bridge becomes useful because you can hide beneath the bridge. You can go over the bridge. You can have height. You can go below. You can hide. You can do all that shit, all because of a bridge that is there, right? So that's why adding location is very important and is very like additional usage, right? So I would absolutely recommend it. Somehow questioning knows who Pi is, and Pi goes, yeah, I could have probably done that. Maybe, I don't know. We still haven't seen them do a power. Who's getting out? I have no idea. That team does jack shit. I don't know, bandana, because they lost the challenge. Like, I'm thinking, dude, I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna say bandana because they lost a challenge and they're from season 1. But other than that, I'd have no real idea. We could just eliminate film reel again if it's the same 15 people. Look, these are the type of people that are voting rubbish despite the fact that they didn't do anything wrong. So, like, bro, they end up apparently doing a crack on the wall, even though I swear it was already cracked. But then they're going, yo, let's break the wall, bro. And it's like, yeah, but what would Loki think? And it's like, well, I mean, come on. Come on, bro. Chop, chop. There's not nothing else. This we can see, and then if it's something, we can leave, and if not, then no. Right. All right. That's all I can really say about the current state of the tossing tiff. Let's go to the next thing. Boom. The next show that we're going to be taking a look at is Zone's Object Show. Yes, remember Zone's Object Show. We haven't looked at this in like 1 billion years. It's because, of course, it was a relatively new episode when it released about 2 months ago. Well, episode 5A, yes, episode 5A was Zone's Object Show, released relatively recently, about 5 days ago. Where were we in the last episode? It was a Halloween episode, so everybody had their own costume on. And then what did we do? Okay, they were painting the pumpkin. Yeah. They did a bunch of random stuff that I don't remember too much. And then we got to see all of the pumpkins. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, we had to vote who was up for elimination. Was there something else going on? Yeah, there was like some evil fella who was just complete. Yeah, you were just one of them was just completely lost, bro. Whatever. Let's see if I can remember what's going on because I currently don't really. In Zone's Object Show 5A, which is titled Intruders and Impostors. Let's go. Okay. I've just watched episode 5A of Zone's Object Show. I am trying so hard to remember what's going on in this show, but the thing is, I don't really know if there was that much going on with this show. This show's rather unfortunate because, like, I feel like it is trying to tell me a story. I think it really is. It really is, but I'm just not getting it, man. I don't. What is happening? I'm super sorry, bro, but like, I don't really know, man. It's like there's a show going on here. So like, okay, hold on. Violet Bubble is a character that got eliminated, apparently. Did they? Okay, it's really hard to say because the thing about it is that in the last episode they all look different because of the whole thing, right? You have a different intro, which is pretty cool. We get to see Zone. Zone's back because remember Zone was doing their whole protest shenanigans, whatever, and I guess they're public now as they take advantage of the host Yellow Ball just kind of sleeping and shit. So okay, I guess. And then the announcement made by somebody is that we're gonna be having an epic go-karting challenge. Let's go. So we go off and we go-kart. What do I think? I mean, it's okay. To be honest, I do actually. Okay, there's one thing that I am gonna say about the show. With I think the angles that this show portrays are pretty unique angles, right? Like this show doesn't shy away from doing a mildly more complicated angle, which is nice. It of course takes risk and sometimes looks worse. However, it also gives itself a little bit more of an identity because it directly looks different, right? Which is interesting. I love the wheels, like, oh, the wheels are riding, so they just rotate the JPEG of the wheels. Good. Um, but yeah, Zone ends up crashing into an egg. They end up crashing or something, and then I guess we'll have to see if they end up crashing. We end up having the like emo image at the end of it. Blame them or something. I don't. What Zone? What are you doing, Zone? You like got eliminated, and then you were like there coming back slowly, and now you've gone guns blazing. You're somehow in the competition again. You're murdering people. You're being emo. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on with you, but yeah. I mean, the whole thing with Zone's object show that I absolutely have to say is you just need to try to get clearer messaging out there, right? Because, like, I'm sure there's a story here, and I feel like I'm piecing it together, but at the same time that I feel like I'm piecing it together, I also feel like I'm just inventing my own story, because it's really hard to tell what story this is doing, because it's acting itself kind of fast, it's acting itself kind of random, right? Like, chillax and tell a story that makes more sense. The gags here are actively muddling the waters, the very confused waters of what is going on, right? So, like, yeah, that's my recommendation. But that's all I can say about Zone's Object Show because I really don't know what else to say. Next. All right, next up, we're going to be going to TDOliver. So, TDOliver has released 2 episodes since the last time that we checked up on them. They are due to release another one here tonight. However, it's going to be releasing at 2:45 in the morning. So, I'm not going to be able to take a look at it yet. That'll be for next time. So if I'm not mistaken, it's the finale of the 22nd Liabra Show All Stars, and then the first episode of the 22nd Liabra Show For Real, which seems to be the name of the 4th season. Let's first off wrap up very quickly. Episode 8, things that are ephemeral. Let's go. White Steven has won the 22nd Object Show. Let's all give a scream of celebration. Woo! Good job, White Steven. We get to see a frame of White Steven that is different with them smiling. To be honest, that's a great smile. They should implement that into actual David. But apparently there'll be season 4, which will well, wow, season 4. Didn't know about that. But we will have it with a different animator will apparently do every episode, which is interesting. It shouldn't actually switch up the vibe that much because like it's a different animator, but the writing should be the same. So theoretically, we won't get to really see how different people write 22nd Object Show, but we're just gonna see how different people animate 22nd Object Show, which is kind of basic. So it shouldn't be too different. Anyways, yeah, we should have probably shown by how many votes White Steven won. Like, we don't even get to say it. They should have shown, come on, like, but numbers, statistics. But whatever. Anyways, I've already talked too much. 20 seconds is not a long time. 22nd Liabra Show For Real 1, Meet the Underdogs. Go! There was the first episode, 26th episode for 1. So we end up having ourselves the characters that are real. Being the cake that I think existed in one of the previous seasons of Wikipedia, which I don't remember existing, but hey, the BFTDI got a Wikipedia page, so that makes sense. We've got Anchor, who arrested the fake clock, I think back in like season 2, which because remember they were doing plot lines back then. I'm surprised season 3 didn't do it. Come on, try a little bit. There's Anchor though, so they're boring and I'd eliminate them. Closet E, who's pretty interesting. Apparently they're the best character according to themselves. Then there is a button fella who is animated kind of weird. And then Button from Purgatory shows up. That makes sense. Purgatory reaction video moment. Then we have Emerald, who looks like a freaking... looks like kryptonite. Then there is a very awkward little, like breadstick, who looks very interesting. I'd keep them around. Then there's a chip who has an I be an asterisk and the other will be an X. That's cool. I'd keep them in. And then that's it. And there's also a doorknob, which I forgot to mention. They're so actually, I vote for them because they're so relevant. I somehow forgot to mention them, even though I only have like 3 things to look at. I probably eliminate them. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Beautiful Blaze ended up making it. This person definitely commented on my videos. Yeah, this person was the one who recommended it, I think, to me. But either way, one down, more animators to go. We'll find out tonight at 2:25 in the morning. You see why I'm not watching? 2:25 in the morning. All right. That's all I can really say about the 22nd Geometry. It's fast. Let's go to the next thing. Next up, we are going to be looking at Jimbo, the creator of BFTTOP or BFTTOP, which we watched episode 1 based on request a while ago, Battle for the Trophy of Power. The challenge was to make a movie last time. We didn't really get to see much of anything at all, and like everybody was up for elimination. It was like a million people. I had, I think, a bunch of criticisms to say, but it's time for episode 2 of this very show, released a couple of days ago, titled Holiday Havoc. Let's watch it, let's talk about it, bang. Alright, so that is episode 2 of Battle for the Trophy of Power. So we end up having ourselves a couple of different things. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, a couple of these assets look different. I mean, it is hand-drawn, so it's technically going to be different each time. But 530 votes, because you can vote multiple times on the form. How do people do this? It's... Nah, people, y'all, we need to stop. We need, like, can somebody, Jack and Jellyfy make a public service announcement. Don't make Google Forms without making it so that you can vote multiple times. And it's the thing about it is that some people think it's cool. Think about it, some people think it's cool. Some people think it's that, oh yes, I'm gonna say my show got 500 votes because it was actually one person who spent like 30 minutes spamming votes. Isn't this just so entertaining? And doesn't this just totally not ruin the integrity of my show and everything within it? Like bruh, whatever. Anyways, apparently by one vote, somehow by one vote, it ends up actually being a piano getting eliminated, so they get flung. Challenge: make a Christmas tree. Team Tuba's team ends up going over because they're trying to, buy a Christmas tree. And then they end up seeing like trees sold out. No, there's no more trees left. So that means that they lose because they don't have a tree. Because time's up. Does the other team have a tree? I need to see it. I need to see it. I need to see the tree. This show's doing the same shit again. In episode 1, it was like, yo, this movie's good, but this movie's bad. I didn't get to see the movie. How am I supposed to know? How am I supposed to agree, disagree, or even have any type of opinion on the show if I don't get to see it? Well, oh yeah, they don't have a tree, so technically if the other team had any tree, they'd be safe. Yeah, but show me the tree. I need to see it. I need to see it, otherwise it's not true. Okay, this is in object shot. If it's not on screen, it might as well not be there. Right, it's just like that thing. So it's like, where is the tree? Because it's a tie if neither of the two teams have tree. Okay, technically the other team was like, ha, you're dumb. But it's like, I didn't see you getting a tree. I didn't see none of that. This is bull crap. Bull crap, I tell you. But anyways, at least one team is up for elimination. So like it's not 1 billion people, which is an improvement. I do hopefully hope, yes. I hopefully think that there should be like the form should only have one response per person. Now, but we can hope for the best. Apparently, episode 3 is on spring or summer of 2026. Summer is in a while. Summer's in like, summer's in like 7 months. That'd be a long production time. I'm not gonna lie. Considering the voting ends in what, 1 week, right? So I don't know. That's kind of a long production time. But oh well. Anyhow, that's what I've got to say about the current state of BFTOP. It's okay, but it really just needs to show me what's going on. It just needs to show me the challenge results. Okay, that's what I do. If they say, oh, yo, this tree's good and this tree's bad, okay, but show me the trees, right? Please show me. Show me. Okay, I need to see. I need to see the challenge. If I see the challenge, I'm good. All right, that's just what I need to have. It's not a big request. I just need to see it. Okay, that's all. Next thing. All right, next up, we are going over back to Sinister Showdown, which released episode 9A, I think, a little while back, and we will be chatting about it. Just as a reminder from what happened last time. Last time, we ended up discovering that the fellas from the other show, remember, ended up coming back with a vengeance, the green guy, to try to murder, and also the evil knife that was the thing a couple of episodes back also is back again to murder. So everybody is currently on the road to dying. Let's see if they're gonna survive or if they're gonna do anything in the episode 9A, which is titled Trapped in Glitch. It apparently features the Mad, the Funny, the Calm. Let's go, let's watch it. Okay, so I just watched Sinister Showdown 9A. Alright? Okay, so situation. Alright. That we're gonna chat about here a little bit. So like, well, there's this thing, okay, that is interesting. This show has had a very steep improvement overall. Over what it was, it's absolutely been a massive improvement, right? Um, Here we get to proper see storytelling, we get to see what's going on, right? The evil knife ends up managing to glitch out the old knife because they apparently trapped him. Did they do that? Do we get to see them do that? Maybe. I'm not 100% sure. But either way, they trapped them now, so then they trapped it. Okay, sure, payback and whatever. So then they get locked in and now they leave. However, the problem is that is 9-8. That's the episode. That's the one scene that happens. There's a total of one, like, just one scene. There's just pretty much nothing. There's two scenes. Sorry, two scenes, and then one post credit, which isn't a scene. It's just an audio, right? Um, and it's like this happens with 8A as well. We got to see it, but like it eventually 8B wasn't like that much of an added on, and it's because I feel like this show is kind of doing the thing where it's like you really want to release it. You're gonna go, yes, I'm gonna drop this. I want to drop this. I made the scene. I'm hyped about it. I'm gonna release it on the YouTube. I'm gonna call it an A episode, and then I'm gonna finish it later, and then I'm gonna re-upload the video, and then it's gonna be a mess. And then it's like, okay, oh, hold, you know, hold on. We don't need to do it. It's actually harmful to split your episodes into A's and B's. It's not. It's like it's harmful because it makes a worse viewing experience, right? For example, for someone like me, I just sat down here, being like, I'm gonna watch Sinister Showdown, and I get to see 1 minute of a video, and then like random TikToks for the other minute, and then it's like, yo, like, you know. It's not as pleasant of a viewing experience because it's so chop 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 chop, and then at the same time you won't remember what happens in 9B, no, in 9A when you watch 9B, because like even though they're supposed to be connected, you won't properly watch them as a connected piece because you watch 9A and then when you watch 9B, you're able to skip the 9A part, right? Which means that it's not good. It's not good to make A and B episode. So I know it's an annoying thing to say, but what I got to say in this case is you just gotta take your time. You really do. There's not much I can really say. I think you just gotta take your time. This episode doesn't need to be a thing. Alright? You can just have episode 9 release, and then you can wait however long it takes and just have it release. Gonna be a more satisfying episode when it does release. Same thing happened with Zone's Object that we looked at a little bit ago. It was so short. It was like 2 minutes, and it's like I don't need to see this 2 minutes. I could just wait and then have a better experience later. Like that's kind of the thing. We don't need the A and B. We really don't. Okay, we can wait. Trust. I promise. Anyways, yeah, I like how the knife ends up calling somebody. So yeah, I find it really interesting how they specifically tell I need you to tell me right now. I think they're making a phone call. I don't think they're literally telling us to find a cadet. Right? Like, it's not I need to go find a cadet. Is this an ARG? Is this a secret ARG? Is there like a code in the? That'd be sick. Imagine I need you to find a contestant. There's like a QR code in the video, and there's like, oh, it's the contestant you need to do the choose your own event. That'd be sick. Imagine, imagine, oh, yo. Pixel Meteor get on this lost one. Nah, okay, whatever. I'm yapping a bunch of random shit. Yeah, that's Sinister Showdown. Next thing. Alright, next up, we must chat about TUOS Horizon because another TUOS Horizon video has hit the YouTubes. Episode 3. Last time we ended up having a challenge about throwing a ball far. A couple of people do, a couple of people don't. But we have a couple of chats. Somebody was analyzing the environment, finds a ball that might be important, and then later in the post-credit scene, a Pearl and Nickel seem to be adventuring in a weird lair place, but they're trying to get somebody out. They're trying to get somebody out, trying to save somebody, but we don't know much about it. Let's find out if that gets any developments in episode 3, Tower Trouble. Go. All right, that is TUOS Horizon 3, and we're starting to get a little bit more of the lore dropped onto us moment by moment. Do you see, the type of lore that this show does is pretty smart because it manages to have viewer voting while also having an underlying plot arc going on, right? By just literally entirely separating the two. Like the characters that are in the competition is happening, but it is like like who gets out and who stays in and who wins challenges and who doesn't is literally entirely irrelevant to the actual like underlying plot theme that's happening, which is interesting, and it makes an interesting way to actually build up a plot without necessarily needing to force characters to stay or force characters to get out. Especially for a show that acts itself quite fast is pretty nice. Um we apparently the bug fellas, remember the ones that got defeated the other time, they've been collecting gemstone pieces that have been falling from the sky for some reason straight into a machine, which makes them more powerful. I must say, it's crazy how much BFTI has truly had a monopoly on characters that look the way that BFTI characters do. Because I looked at that flower, I heard that flower speak, and I was like, that ain't right. I was just like, nope. Nope, incorrect voice. It just feels wrong, you know. I'm so used to hearing flower from BFDI. That's that flower with a male flower. I've never seen that in my life. Oh my god, that's illegal. Even though it's not, it's completely fine. It's really weird to see a character with the same design but a different voice. Like it's so interesting. That's why a lot of characters, they tend to like switch up the colors or whatever. But yeah. Anyways, our elimination. The eliminated contestant ends up being Anpan with 5 votes. That's interesting. I thought Anpan was cool. I thought Anpan was liked, but no, apparently not. I guess they didn't do too. I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess there was a novelty factor to Anpan being kind of an interesting item for an show. However, like at the end of the day, yeah, no, they kind of dip out. Um, so goodbye. Then our challenge is to climb a book tower. It's not a very large book tower. That's a relatively small book tower, and the books don't seem to actually fall, so that's not a problem. So Lamp ends up just flying up, and they're safe. Lamp, I know, right? Lamp utilizing their flight to actually do a thing never seen before. Yen and Teacup are climbing up, and in the meantime, however, Top Hat manages to use trampoline, somehow jump diagonally, yeah, and then manages to land on top of the tower, which means that Yen, the Teacup, and Grape are interesting. Who gets out? No, hold on. Is this for either Yen, Teacup, or Olive to be eliminated? Okay, so it's vote to eliminate. Okay, that's interesting because of course both Yen and Teacup have the initial scene where they're kind of being cute and they're friends and stuff, right? And then Grape doesn't do much. However, you can feel pity for them because they died, right? I'm still gonna say that Grape gets out. However, I'm not too sure. It's kind of a so-so. Then we have the researchers because apparently orbs have been falling from the sky, and the bow ends up going, yeah, there was just scientists trying to figure out, but apparently not anymore. I mean, I don't know. Is there been a scientist? Is Orb a scientist? Was the bugs a scientist? The bug weren't scientists. There's no way. There's no way the bugs were scientists. They do not give me the science. They don't give me the science vibe, if you know what I mean. If you know what I'm saying. If you know what I'm saying. If you catch my drift, if you will. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested. This is good. As far as seasons of TUOS goes, this is solid. We get the goofy little show with some interesting characters, but it's overall super simple. And then we get a plot going on. Whichever seasons, I mean, they have a plot, but it's super simple and sometimes confusing, right? And everything. So I think it's a nice way to evolve the show, and it's taking all of the correct steps, all of the correct beats, and it's doing well for itself. I'm hyped to see where we keep going. Um, and all right, next. All right, the next thing that we're going to be taking a look at is Nake. Nake is the Heat series where for 1 minute and 34 seconds you roughly think you know what's going on, and then you actually don't because it throws in new random shit. Last time Chippo, Phantom Stool, and Austin TB were up for elimination. Who gets eliminated? Do you think we get to see that? Well, let's go look at the Nake haiku to see what is on the menu today. Let's go. Chat, somebody needs to tell this bro that you don't need to have people up for elimination every episode. If you just want to make a 1 minute and 34-second episode where a thing happens and then the plot line progresses, that's fine. You don't need to put 4 people up for elimination with no apparent logic, reason, rhyme, anything. Like you don't need to do that. It's not needed. You don't need to put 4 random people up for elimination, even though there's no chance, there's no nothing. Like, this is not one of the necessities of the world. This is just not needed. We just don't need this. But whatever. Anyways, we have an interesting episode. We try to figure out Chippo's motives. For some reason, they really want to kill Stu. I don't really know why. Phantom tries to possess Snake, which is fire idea, but it doesn't work now. Well, we actually get to see Phantom move around as a character properly. They end up being like, no, I don't want to murder Stu. Why would I do that? And then Chippo's like, well, you can or whatever. And then eventually they turn to stone, presumably because they were eliminated. But it was this show, you never fucking know. Um. So yeah, we'll see. Phantom will get to think about it. Stu isn't exactly the most convincing person in the world, but like, come on, please, please, we need to stop. We need to stop making, like putting Stu. Like, come on. But at least they get to eat food, and the awesome TV doesn't mind. We can't get the awesome TV to go? We can't get the awesome TV to go home with, and how the hell will we ever know the results? But I mean, we don't ever know the results anyway. This show, whatever. Like, it's again, I don't know. The era where I tried to understand this show is entirely over. I think it would be better if the show made a mild amount more sense. Like, I really like the vibe that it's going for, but like, there's a certain point with this vibe that you just kind of give up. You know, like I just kind of give up. I just kind of watch it mindlessly. It's like, okay, what's gonna happen? It's gonna happen. You know, like it's kind of like, okay, I don't know. Like I kind of lose interest after a bit because like whatever. I'm just gonna let whatever happens happen. Like there's nothing to talk about, nothing to really think about. Like it's just things that happen on the screen, right? Like if they don't make sense, it doesn't have the logic. It's a cool vibe, but like the vibe without logic kind of loses its own purpose, right? So yeah, that's all I've got for Nick for now. Next thing, bang. All right, next up we're going to Hubba Bubba, which has started an object show yesterday. They're the creator of Green, which we took a look at a couple of times. Well, they created the Square Really Object Show, Trizzler, and Green, which are all things that we looked at in prior episodes. However, it is time to look at their new object show, I think, which is titled Object Whatchamacallit. Whatchamacallit. All right. And let's see. The episode is called Back to Slop, I guess. Let's go. Okay, I watched it. This is one of the things that might be a problem with the way that I cover things is that like I should definitely just wait and take a look at more episodes of the show. But by the system that I use, I have to take a look at it right now. Right now, as it happens, and it's like it's 30 seconds that we only get to really see the cast and the channel's uses. This is an Object Fool thing, obviously, because, you know, it's a thing. I haven't watched Object Fool. Should I watch Object Fool? Yes, I should. I'm allowed to because it was a part of Animatic. Um, so I probably should at some time. That might be like I don't know when I'm going to do that, but I want to do that. But anyways, we end up introducing our fellas. Doghouse, Hand Turkey, who's a turkey but a hand. Investigation Board, who has no eyes, but it looks pretty cool. Logs, fire character idea, actually. That looks really sick. Jack and the Box, that's fun. Maple Syrup, who speaks on a weird, Hilly, who's a hill, and then a school emoji. There's a couple of interesting little characters here. However, of course, we don't get to see them. They do a goofy challenge where you need to turn into a picture. They turn into a picture, and everybody else is up for elimination. What is the song? Can I please know this song? I need to listen to it right now. This song is fire. This song is fire. I heard it like twice, and boom, give me full right now. That's all I can say. I need full song. Okay, all right, that's all. Next. All right, it's time to close off the largest recording day in Object Catchup history. I have never recorded more in one day, and I could technically even record more, but I'm just getting tired at this rate. But after this, we will have successfully caught up with everything that we were supposed to be watching today, except for the series, which I skip on purpose, and anything that released today while I was recording, which doesn't count. All right, that'll be for the next time that we keep up. All right. The last thing that we need to take a look at is Object Hateness. I left this for last because I don't know if the creator who's actually behind this blues is a good person. However, we've been looking at Object Hateness for ages, ever since like the start and everything. So for now, I'm just gonna keep it. I'm just gonna watch it, okay, entirely neutrally. But we'll talk more about this when we actually get to the episode portion. Object Hateness episode 3. There's no hope. Go. Okay, so that is Object Hateness 3. So before we actually talk about Object Hateness 3 at all, um, we need to chat a little bit about this. Okay, so this is a dilemma that Object Catchup has a little bit. Okay, and it's what do you do when, like, what do I do when I am taking a look at a show, or supposed to take a look at a show, or am looking at a show that is directly correlated to somebody that people don't like, that people think is problematic, that has maybe done bad things, right? Or like a part of the community has shunned them, right? And this is one of those situations where it's really complicated because I see the pros and the cons, right, on both of the situations. Right, like for example, one of the biggest things that I'm thinking about is at some point I have to look at CFMOT, but it's like, how do I do that without look like, because it's not, it's how do I do that? Yeah, no, like, is it possible to take a look at something entirely neutrally, independent from who made it? Right, that's kind of the question. All right, by making a video on a thing and covering a thing and having it in here, we're directly placing it, I guess, on a little bit of a pedestal. You know, we're discussing it at the end of the day as a show, which is supporting the show by, you know, giving it discussion and everything. So it's kind of like the thing, can you discuss a show? Can you put a show on a pedestal without also necessarily putting the creator on a pedestal, right? Those are the two questions. And I'm still completely undecided on this because it's like, I don't really know, and this is what happens here. I mean, Blue at the end of the day is somebody who, according to other people, stole shows, got banned from the OSC wiki for being annoying, was racist, uploaded a video, that did a bunch of that said a bunch of shit, as like a TV channel, but it's like, oh yeah, no way, I can be racist if it's a joke. Like, stop. But then it's like, I wouldn't know. I was already looking at Object Haters before, and this episode, I mean, they did actually release after that stuff, but like, it's different. It's difficult. Okay, what I'm gonna do here, in this situation, of course, as you can tell by the fact that we're currently chatting about it, is that I am going to choose, at least in this specific circumstance, because I'm not too confident in the situation, right? That I will currently take a look at this, okay? And on the side later, this entirely because it was already part of the plan. Before I even saw anything about Blues, anything, like, because the thing about it is that the Blues whole exposed or whatever video, it was literally uploaded, but while I was filming this, if I'm not mistaken. Not like this, but like I started this morning, right? So that means that it was already part of the things that I was supposed to take a look at before any of the jazz. Like, I mean, it already transpired, but before I had knowledge there was a problem, right? Because I don't pay attention to the non-audio videos that a lot of these creators post, right? Especially Bluey, who upload, no, especially Blues, who uploads like a million videos, right? So then that's kind of being complicated. But so far, I'm only going to take a look at it. However, just be warned that if I do truly gauge that it is a bad person making it and we shouldn't support it, I might stop all coverage of blues related shows. Either way, they seem to be taking a step away from the OSC. Um, so yeah. Anyways, apparently there were no votes for Object Hateness, at least according to the show itself, which is an issue. The producer comes in and goes like, "Yo, I'm gonna need to cancel the show if this show doesn't become good. Okay, no music with no money." Right, so I guess, I don't know, we're gonna have to see. Apparently the challenge is to survive the explosion or something. Because, hold on, we don't get to actually find out who gets eliminated, because the next challenge was to survive an explosion, which, yeah, it's not great. But then in the last 4 minutes of the episode, we have a sob story, a no-pass sob story, because the basketball gets made fun of for having no arms, so no-pass said, "Yo, okay, this person just like me, they also get made fun. I can tell my story to them. I could tell my last story." So apparently, I was in school and I got bullied because I wasn't cool or whatever, right? I was happy I'll make friends, but nobody cares until they met Flame. Flame was a bully, right, or something. Because I don't know why specifically this Flame guy matters. Then apparently we got punched in the face with a stick, and oh no, we need revenge. Okay, so they go try to get revenge. However, they go like, "I'm gonna punch him in the face." However, it's a fucking piece of fire, so it doesn't even work. And then they run away, and then you cry, and then it's the joke. And then apparently, because you're in the bus and you were anxious, you realize that you have autism because you were anxious on the bus because you were running away from everybody. Hold on. Hold on. I don't think that's how that works. Hold on. Wait. Wait. Okay. Okay. Hold on a moment. Like, okay. Maybe, okay. True, whatever. Like, it could be true. Okay. However, just because you were anxious, because you actively ran away from home and are escaping by yourself, not talking to anybody, not talking to anything, and going on your own to do random competition with paper that you saw on the ground, and you're anxious because of that, very valid to be anxious about circumstance, would not mean that you have any condition. That would just mean you're anxious. I'm just saying, okay? Okay, sure, you could do correlations in consistency basis, but because at that moment you were anxious, that is not a thing. It's not like anxiety is not a thing unless you have autism. That's like incorrect. This is not healthy. This is not a healthy way to think about this situation, okay? But that's not how that works. But eventually, basketball hugs them and goes like, "It's okay. I think you had just been sad, bro. I think you had been sad." That's the quote. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I have to say this because it's just so true. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. When basketball jumps up for the hug, it so looks like they're kissing. It really does. It really does. It's right at the face as well. It really does. But anyways, they go like, "Yo, you want to be friends with me? Sure." And then there we go. That's the episode. We don't get to find out who's eliminated. We don't get to find out the challenge. We don't get to find out anything. And in general, another thing that I would absolutely say after we end up on the hiatus. Apparently, the show's canceled. Right. Now I'm talking about it. So apparently it's canceled. But we gotta talk what we gotta talk. I was supposed to talk about it, and we will talk about it. Because we'll get to it all. Remember what I said. So yeah, the producer has a call, and then we have a tiebreaker. One thing that I'm absolutely gonna say, if bro ever comes back to making shows, first of all, be a better person. Second of all, if you are stealing assets from people, right? If you're stealing assets from people, credit the fucking people. You can't. Like, I'm sorry. You can't just do this and be like, "Oh yes, it's. I'm sorry. It's because I'm not good at." Okay, sure. People take stuff from the Jellyfish all the time. People take stuff from Gamma all the time. Sure, okay, credit them. You can't just see assets made by other people. What? Yeah, Jack and Jellyfish, you, and then Adam Cast, and then other people. No, no, no. That doesn't slide. Doesn't slide. You don't sound like you care. Okay? You can, in my opinion, you can, it's a rite of passage, especially with these smaller shows. They're like, you kind of can take over assets. They're like, it's okay at the end of the day. You just credit it properly, show it properly. When instead we're taking music and not crediting it, we're taking backgrounds and not crediting it, we're taking assets and not crediting it. Yes, assets by other people. That's literally what it says in the description of the show. Like, what the fuck? That's not okay. This is not okay, bro. And look, I want to be supportive, I want to be anything. But these guys problematic, don't like it, stealing shows, stealing everything, doing raisins because you think, oh, haha, the videos where the channels get hijacked by Russia or whatever, cool, right? And I stop, okay? Wait, stop. We're closing this off on a serious note. Stop, please. Okay. We need to actually relax. We need to sort ourselves out here, okay, Blues? It's not. It's like you didn't even do terrifyingly bad things. I think you just need a major. You just need like a major understanding of what you did, okay? Because that way we can more properly improve. Okay, because otherwise, like, bro, we need to properly have a situation, because like it's not the end of the world. We just need to go from here, right? We need to go from here. We need to improve and we need to become better. Be better than the person who were yesterday. What is the quote that's at the end of this fucking video? What is the quote at the end of the video? You are the best. Just be yourself. No, hold on. That's like a theoretically good quote, okay? But you need to be better than who you were yesterday is also a quote for a reason, okay? Be better than who you were yesterday, okay? All right, fine. So, I know you said, "Oh, I'll quit." I'm sorry. These people very rarely actually quit. So, I'm having this pep talk. Sort yourself out. If people are mad at you, it's not a mob. Like, if people online in the official community was one that's it's super online community. Okay, if it's like, if we're mad at you for like, if people are genuinely mad at you, there's a reason, okay? What they're not being well, I don't know the situation super well, but trust me, there's a reason. People don't just get mad because they feel like it. Okay, sometimes people do, but like on average, especially the people that are actually watching your content and are actually reaching out to you with proper reasons, like if you need to separate constructive criticism from actual criticism, right? And then in this situation, everyone will be fine. Okay, okay, all right. I'm talking too much. I'm low-key getting heated about the person that doesn't watch my video. Um, so let's close off the biggest catch-up recording in one day ever. Right here, right now. Let's go. Alright, that will be all for the 61st episode of Object Catchup, the largest single recording day I have ever done. 3 hours and 34 minutes. The longest. I think the second longest. I did 3 hours one day, when I was trying, like I was really trying to get the MBMB video out. I did like about 3 hours in one day. However, I never did this much in one day while also getting the video out. However, I really wanted to ensure everything that I had to keep up with, other than one series, that at the start of the day I had to do, I did. I had to do it, and I wanted to do it, and I did it. Okay, so anything that I didn't cover in this video, I wasn't supposed to. Okay, what is the idea now? I have requests I have to get to. There's other shows that are theoretically on the horizon. Obviously, December is still going to be ongoing. However, I believe you'll see a community post maybe tonight, maybe somewhere around it. But like, I'll get to OC. But I think the current idea is we should be taking a small break. I think for a couple of days to just do the Christmas, do the Christmas, but like have a break. Just for a moment, not do catch up, because I kind of need to not do catch up here for a little bit. So that's why I really wanted to push myself here today. Do the biggest, even though again it's not the biggest video, because the biggest videos are the ones which I've recorded on multiple days, right? That's what happens with the 4-hour ones, right? But the fact that like are the ones that are recorded over multiple days. However, this one isn't. This one is recorded only one day, and it is special for that reason. That's why it is, in my opinion, the most effort I put into making a catch-up video, and I had to do it because I was so behind on stuff, because of Flash and everything, but we had to do it, and we did do it, and we did get to everything. That is all for the shows that we watched. We are all caught up. for now. I mean, until like new episodes release at 2:25 in the morning. And yeah, see you next time. Goodbye.